Welcome. This is James from Whose Turn Is It Anyway? And I'm joined by JP.
Hello.
Adrian.
Hello.
And Tambo.
Hello.
We're here and we're going to be talking about something we've just went to recently, very recently, GRIDCON. GRIDCON. So, if you don't know what GRIDCON is, it's set up by Gaming Rules, so Mr. Paul Grogan. It's a convention in the southwest, in Taunton, in the Holiday Inn. It's quite a big convention. It's grown kind of year by year. It started off as like a little thing after Essen, showing people playing their little board games around pools, and it's kind of grown to this massive convention. So I want to say a big thank you for that. Paul and Vicky and everyone else who's involved have put a lot of work into it, and it's no easy feat. And we just want to say a big thank you.
Massive thank you.
We all really enjoyed it. You can see the effort that's gone in. Mm-hmm. The organisation alone must have taken them a long time and a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, well done.
Like I said, there's just a lot of helpers, and even some of his patron supporters who were kind of sitting manning the registration desk every now and then, just to give Vicky a break, bless her.
Yeah.
And Vicky's sister, who are kind of sitting there most of the time, just sorting out stuff or receiving lost bits of components that people have found on the floor. There's a little dice tray.
I saw the little Lost in Family. I was like looking at it, trying to guess all the components.
So no, it's just good to see, and we take it for granted when you go to these things that you just kind of turn up, rock up, and play games, and the amount of hours and effort that must have gone into that just to make sure that us plebs had a great time.
It
was amazing.
The atmosphere was great as well, wasn't it? Really,
definitely.
Everyone's there for kind of a similar reason, but
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't know. Things can change, but no, the atmosphere is just spot on. Just exactly what you want.
So this was GRIDCON 4, right?
GRIDCON 4.
Fourth one.
There we go.
Yeah. It's my third
Fourth in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was my first one.
Your first one.
Yeah.
My third one.
My second
your
one.
Second
My
one.
second.
And your second.
Yeah.
I'd just like to say, when I walked in the door, I was very helpful because I can't remember the lady's name, but someone in the red top, and she just sat there. Have you been here before? And I went, no, never. And she just sat there and explained where everything was.
Yeah.
With a map, and just said, this is here, and everything was really helpful.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And I think talking about the atmosphere, one of the things that's interesting and great about GRIDCON is there's almost like 4 different areas to play.
Yeah.
Because you've got the main hall, which is quite buzzy and a little bit louder and a little bit sort of more, there's just more gamers packed into an area, but it feels more like a convention hall, gamer hall sort of thing. You've got the sort of foyer and the restaurant, which looks and feels a bit more casual. You've got a smaller gaming room, which again is a bit quieter, and then you've got the separate rooms upstairs as well. So each of those rooms has a different kind of atmosphere and a different feel, and I've noticed from last year that a lot of the people ended up back in the same rooms or in the same places that they were last year, whether that's due to habit or just the fact that they like the atmosphere in each separate room. I found quite interesting, because I was like, you all sat here all last year as well, and I think that's because they probably like the quieter or the more comfortable or whatever it is that's...
Well, rather than with the rowdy lot.
Well, exactly the same. Everyone who was with the rowdy lot last year, there was a lot of the same people in that room again. So I just think it's interesting to have noticed that year on year that a lot of the same people are going back into the same room, probably because they like that atmosphere.
And also part of it's habit as well.
It is part of habit,
100%.
I've not thought about it though.
I just knew that's where I played last time. My feet took me that way, and that was it.
But it's nice that you have those options.
Yeah.
It's not like it's one massive hall like Expo Hall 3 where it's loud,
that's your
noisy.
choice. Yeah.
That's it. It's what you've got. It's like, you know what? I fancy having a bit of a, high energy. It's being a bit more, loud and
and
things. Or you've got the option to retire a bit.
Have something that's a little bit more personal and kind of cozy, which is it's cool.
Also, people weren't squished in either, were they? There's plenty of moves to move between chairs, and it wasn't compact at all. It was nicely spread out, which is a big thing.
I mean, Saturday's definitely the busier day.
Yeah, it was definitely busier.
It ran out of table space in most of the halls on Saturday at one point. There was still like restaurant space, but in the 2 sort of slightly bigger, like I'd say dedicated gaming spaces, it ran out on Saturday fairly quickly. And as soon as the table became free, people sort of jumped on it a little bit. But apart from that, there was still enough space to play.
Yeah,
especially on the Friday
so
and
like
Sunday.
They've kind of got the player count
about right.
Yeah,
for how many people they can host.
Which some board games can't do still, but
board games or board game conventions.
Right. So leading on, what kind of games did everyone play, or Did we have a nice mix? Did you just stick to what you knew? Let's start with you, Adrian.
I had a really good mix. I showed off some games, I learnt some new games, I demoed some games, so I had a really nice mix of kind of all of those things. That there was some familiar, some new, some I wanted to try. Some I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go, and also doing the demos as well. So yeah, no, I had a really nice mix, and I got to sort of, again, I think I got the balance right again this year. I felt like I did it pretty well last year. I felt like I got a good balance this year of sticking with our little gaming group and playing a few games there, and then going off and just meeting random people that you signed up for a game with, or that you wouldn't normally game with but maybe sort of know a little bit, to go and have a bit of a game with them, and just sort of almost alternating between our little gaming group and sort of random people that were there that we signed up with, etc. So no, I think I got the mix of that pretty good as well. Yeah, that was kind of, I suppose, a very quick summary of my experience.
That's fine. We'll go into it deeper. Don't you worry.
Yeah. Oh, thank God! Otherwise, this would be a really
it'd be like a short podcast. We've got places to be. What do you expect?
That's GRIDCON.
Yeah.
See you next time.
How about you, Tambo?
I learned about four different games.
Yeah.
Not really heavyweight ones. Apart from that, I kept all the same things I already knew. To be honest.
No, it's fair enough.
I just kind of tag on what people want to play. I don't get too much in what they need to put on the table. So yeah, no, it was a good mix. Really good mix for me. Started off, my first one was a real heavy one, which I wasn't expecting.
I know that one.
Yeah, you know that one. And then and it finished off on a very fun game, which we really enjoyed. So yeah, it was all pretty much what I've played before.
Okay, and you, JP?
Yeah, echo what Adrian said. I kind of did a bit of a mix. I was doing a bit of kind of got my podcast hat on, trying some prototypes and things like that, and then I took the podcast hat off and kind of had like fun just playing games I already knew. And so very
it's
good
nice
mix.
finding that balance sometimes, because you feel compelled to play a lot of the new hotness or a lot of other games, so we can talk about it as well. But then there's a bit of comfort to play all those old games and crack them out again, because you don't always get to play them. That's what the time's for, isn't it?
Exactly. So, and I have fun playing with the gaming group.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I set it up.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. So I kind of want to make sure I do that and not just disappear for the entire weekend. And so I echo what Adrian said. It was a good mix.
So I did get a mix in, but I wasn't there for as long. So I'm going to be the audience voice in this episode and ask the questions that I think you guys are going to want to know. What game was the most surprising for each one of you at GRIDCON? What game did you think you kind of went to that it's going to be either surprising in the fact that you really enjoyed it, or surprising in the fact that you didn't? How about you, JP? We'll start with you.
Oh, okay. That's a different start to what I had in my head, but it's fine. I like where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Surprising game for me was Escape Plan.
Okay.
From Vital Lacerda.
Yeah.
And it was quite a meta game, because I was playing Escape Plan next to his prototype, which we'll cover in a bit, with him teaching his prototype in the room. So kind of very like a meta.
That's what we do is meta game now.
What is going on? But so, and also asking him, how does this rule work? And he's like, I don't know, I've not done that game for about 10 years or whatever. And it's like I've moved on since that.
Yeah.
But no, Escape Plan for me was really fun. Really fun. It's been, I think Escape Plan's one of those games in his catalogue that people either like the least, or is maybe not the one that everyone says. Like, when you go, what's your favourite Lacerda? Escape Plan is usually down the bottom of that list.
I've heard, but it's only because I feel it's because of his weight, I think.
Maybe.
It's very different to a lot of his other games.
Yeah, and this is it. Whenever anyone talks about it, they always describe it as different. Not that it's good or bad or anything like that. They just seem to use the word different a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I was like, please tell me how good it is or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'll quickly kind of rattle through it. I mean, if people don't know what Escape Plan is, if you think about Ocean's 11, heist movies, anything kind of that. So the themes, I love the theme of it. It's great. So you've kind of pulled off this kind of big job, and you can have a board which is a hexagon layout, and it starts with 2 tiles, and you are basically trying to get your money that is stashed in different businesses or safe houses around the city. Get out, and that's it. Pretty much what you got to do. So you have an escape plan card, and on that secret you've got a little player screen, which is basically your money bag, and your cash in hand is all secret as well, so no one kind of knows how much money you have on hand. But on that escape plan card, it will say, you've got 100k in the gym and you've got 50k in a restaurant, or maybe the bar, you can get your income from the bar, just some seed money to help you move around the city and do different things. And yeah, you're pretty much moving around the different hexagon tiles, and the way you move is quite unique in that you link terrain together. So you can kind of spend a movement point to cross a terrain type, but you then can move across multiple hexes if the terrain's the same or it matches.
Right,
so you
okay.
can kind of slide around a little bit. And then you've got water in there, which you can cross with ferries and some rules around that. But the police are everywhere, as you'd expect. You just pull the heist off and they're trying to look for you. So you kind of have to move, avoid the different police, which are like red, blue and black little meeples. They're very cute. It's Eagle Griffin Games produced, so it's very well done. And there are different ways that you can avoid the police. You can have contacts, which are cards that sit in your player board that you can hire to kind of, move the police around, hopefully into the direction of the other players and make their life a lot more difficult. And if you can't deal with them, then they will kind of give you a wound that you have to kind of take, and you've got a little first aid token that you can spend to heal that off. And if you get more like 3 wounds and an additional one, you'll get this handcuffs card that will hinder you as you progress and basically takes one of your slots.
There's no player elimination then?
No player in elimination, just it's going to score you negatively.
Yeah.
Underneath it's a Euro game, but
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
styled in a very unique and different way, and it kind of doesn't feel Euro-y in terms of the mechanics and what you're doing, but ultimately you're trying to get money, which is your victory points, and get out of the city. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. You can kind of get into the theme of it, and it gets tense as the game goes on. So you're earning notoriety depending on what you're doing. So the more kind of interactions with shady characters you do, a bit like the wanted level in GTA, kind of goes up. If you can do things like go to safe houses and hide out, you can reduce it down. So every time you cross a certain threshold on that track, the other players, you get a little reward for it, so it's kind of encouraging you to do it, but the other players then can move the police closer to you. So it's like they're starting to close in. So there's a real kind of push-pull, tug-of-war aspect to that, which I really enjoyed. And managing that at the end, because the more kind of stars that you have means more negative VPs that you'll get, or less money that you have to spend.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
So
how long did it take?
It took a while. I don't think
you were learning, or?
Yeah, we were learning, and none of us had really played before. So this was ran by Martin, who's he's a listener and a fan of the show. So so hi Martin, hope you're doing okay. And he was he wanted to play it for the same reasons I think I did, which was it was one of the catalogue that he'd not tried before.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just wanted to test it out. So he borrowed it from a friend, and we managed to find a couple of players and spin it through. But I really enjoyed it. I think you would probably bust that game out in 90 minutes once you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Under 2 hours, definitely. 90 minutes if you get on with it. You've got minimum 9 actions each, maximum 15.
Right.
So
okay.
you have 3 days, you do 3 actions per day, and then you can earn extra actions.
Yeah, I was going to
every day.
say, you say you got that number of actions,
Yeah.
but it's a Lacerda, so it's always going to have
You've got to work
executive
for it.
actions as well. Whatever they
Yeah,
call
you've
them.
got like your main things, and then you've got
Yeah.
your assets that you can spend, and then you've got your fixer tiles that you can spend, so you can combo things a little bit. But yeah, it works really well.
So
I think a
the
lot of
biggest
people-
question,
Ooh,
is it
yeah.
going in the loot bag?
Is it going in the loot bag? You know what? The first day I was playing in the game, I was like, really like this.
Yeah.
Really like this. And then I kind of got through it, and I thought, no, I'm not going to get it. But would I play it? Absolutely.
Okay.
Anytime. I don't think it's bad. It's just not my favourite, but I think it's different enough that it's hard to compare it to his others. You just can't compare it to your
That
Lisboas
sounds
or
like
Weather
it warrants
Machines.
a place on the shelf,
but
JP, if
but
anything.
But an Eagle
And
Griffin
there was
Games.
a cheap copy in the Bring on Buy.
Oh, was that? Oh, okay.
Cheap was 70 quid.
Which is cheap
Which is
for
cheap.
an Griffin
Yeah.
game.
But it was kind of like, if it was 40 quid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
no brainer from the gameplay you're getting, right? But because it's a deluxe game, it's a harder decision point for me. And that's the only reason. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Didn't have me trying to whisper in your ear,
Yeah.
going, yes, buy it, JP.
Yeah, I would have skipped to the Bring and Buy and picked it up. I think Martin was thinking the same.
Yeah.
He was like, if I enjoy it, I might pick it up as well.
Well, I asked you about it because I was like, at £70.
Yeah.
If people come back really loving it, and I came to sort of the same conclusion you did, which I've already got a couple of games on the shelf.
Yeah.
they don't make the table as much as I would like them to, even though I like the games, sort of thing. Is this going to be another one of those that's cost me £70? You know?
Yeah, it's fun.
Price point per play.
That's it.
Yeah. Entertainment value. We all do it.
Yeah.
Boy math.
But I really, boy math. But I really,
Gamer math. There we go.
really enjoyed it. So it's just one of them. Yeah.
There we go. It's one I need to play. How about you, Tambo?
I think the game that surprised me the most was Becky put it was Forest Shuffle.
Yes,
Well,
there's
look
been a
at
lot of buzz about this.
Yeah, it's just like basically just a card deck building game which we bring in a lot of cute animals from the woods basically, and you build an environment for them to live in. And the more animals you have in your woods, and the more different trees you have, the more VPs you get in the game.
Kind of
and
like I've got a set collection in there, isn't it, with different combos.
That's it, yeah. And it's like, well, it's a typical Becky game. She loved the artwork. And
Animal and Woods.
Animal and Woods. Brilliant. I thought, okay, let's play it. And then it was really good fun. The end game is 3 winter cards that go in the bottom of the deck, I believe, and that's your end game. So once you draw all 3 winter cards, the game ends. So it can be a very random, long game, or it could be a quite short game, because that's quite a good aspect of the game I enjoyed. But the combos are really good. So it's like if you have a fox in one tree and you combo off some hares, because you get like eating hares, and then you have more hares they come off of each other, rabbits, and it was really good, and sets of butterflies, and really enjoyed it. Really surprisingly enjoyed it, and came close to buying it again. It was awesome.
It's definitely a Becky game because it's got that thing where you can look. Doesn't matter how you've done, you can look and you feel like you've made something.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like you could have scored 10 points or 200 points, but you've got all of your forests with all of the animals arranged around it, and all, like ferns and all that kind of stuff, and you visualise what you've made. And I think, like, not to talk on Becky's behalf, but she does seem to like those games where you can see that you've made an engine or you've done something at the end, like it's very visual.
Yeah, because each tree you put 4, one from the top, one at the bottom, that live specifically for the top part of the tree or the bottom part, and one to the left, to the right. So you look like you're building an actual lovely forest with animals.
Yeah. So it's kind of got it's an aesthetic builder as well as a deck builder.
Definitely.
I mean, Becky did really well. She won it as well. She did really good. Martin came second. I came last. But I think Martin even bought a copy because he loved it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to the shop and bought it there.
I saw a lot of people playing it, and we saw a lot of people playing it in Essen as well. And it was one. I've read the rules. I know how to play it, but I've still not played it.
Yeah.
Especially even though it's a quick game. So
it was a very quick game, which is also a good thing because it was quick and easy and really.
Yeah, it's a nice filler, or like a kind of a palate cleanser game where you can do it in between another. Or
it was one of my last games on the Sunday, and it was my first play of it as well.
Yeah.
Just don't sit next to the left of Becky because she likes to you build up like a shop, and she likes clearing the shop.
Yeah.
So every time it gets to you, you're like, oh. There's no shop. So that's my only advice. If you're buying the game, great, but just don't ever sit next to the left of Becky.
Yeah.
Not enough dens.
She did exactly to us as well, because she had a cave card, right? And she built it up, and then she cleared it, and she took all those cards into a cave, which were worth 1 VP at the end of the game. And they were just like this big stack under the rest of the game. Played it very well.
Becky's leveled up.
Yes. Yeah.
She's leveled
very
up.
Very good. But yeah,
She's
great
ruthless.
Game. Definitely the most surprising for me.
Cool.
I just thought it'd be quick.
Sounds good. Yeah, definitely. How about you, Adrian?
I think mine was drafted.
None of them? Didn't like any of them?
I like board games.
Nice.
I'm the ones I played with you.
Well, one of them was yours.
Well, one of them was mine, and I enjoyed that, but despite your best efforts. No, mine was Draft and Write Records. So it was a sponsored game where you could sign up, and you kind of, a bit of a lottery pick. Whoever got signed up, names got picked out of a hat. And Adam from Punchboard, who we've had on the show before, he was running it. And I signed up just for that one. I didn't sign up for loads. I just signed up for that one because it's a it's a draft and flip and write, that, as the name suggests. And I signed up because as much as I like sort of roll and writes or flip and writes or draft and writes or whatever and
Anything
writes,
with writing.
yeah, I enjoy them, but I quite often can't sort of get people to play them from the people I regularly play with. So I signed up for that one to give it a go because it looked good, but I thought I don't ever see myself adding it to my collection, and it was really good. So I have to apologise because there's 5 people sat around the table and I only got 4 names because on the sign-up list it only listed 4 people. So we had around the table Alan, Martin and Paul, who taught us hegemony at the UK Games Expo.
Yes.
Who absolutely rinsed me because like 3/4 of the way through the game I had a full band, apart from a lead singer, I'd produced like 6 albums and yet hadn't even left like see, there's different
Timberland.
There's different tracks. Yeah, basically, I produced like 6 albums but had never left the open mic night part. And they were just like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "My band is doing perfectly fine, thank you very much." But no,
self-satisfaction is fine.
it was good. You, as the name suggests, you draft cards. So the cards are either band members, including like roadies and sound engineers and stuff like that, or their actions, and those actions are kind of either going on tour or producing albums, or there's 2 other parts of the board that I can't actually tell you what thematically they did. They were just kind of sort of tick boxes and all that kind of stuff. And so you draft that, you do the action, and each of the musicians has like a top colour, a bottom colour, a left colour and a right colour.
Okay.
And if you, on the board, you're surrounded by other band members and engineers and all that lot. And if you match colours, you then get to tick off another box, which then gives you combos because you could then tick off another box, etc., etc. And if at the end of the turn you can't play the card because you've ticked off all the boxes, you get minus points, which is a scandal. So your band's done something to cause a scandal because you've tried to get too many singers or something like that. Yeah,
Rock
exactly.
and roll, baby. Yeah.
And everyone, so it's Game by Inside Up Games, who also produced Earth, which is obviously still quite hot and talked about. And it's a really nice design, and a lot of people kept saying it's Ganshon clever, or That's So Clever, with a theme. Now, I've not played that yet. Still need to get to play that, but I've not played it yet. And if that's what it is, then that's great, because Ganshon Clever is in a much smaller box and is a soloable game, so there's a chance I can actually get to that myself, whereas my understanding is that Draft and Write Records, because it's drafting cards, I'm guessing there's not much of a solo mode to it.
No.
But yeah, it was really fun, and you're drafting and you're kind of seeing what other people put together, and you're laughing at their band. How come your band has a conductor and 2 metal players in it, sort of thing? You can see that, but also there's just that nice little puzzle of, right, if I put this one here, I get to harmonise them, which is linking up, and I get this bonus and I get this bonus, and you've got secret objectives and public objectives. And so the end game triggers are if there's too many scandals, if someone fills up their entire band, or if someone completes, I think it's 6 objectives, that ends the game. So it tends to be about 5-6 rounds of drafting.
Yeah.
But because you're drafting, I think it was 5 cards. Actually, you've kind of got 25 actions to do. But everyone's doing it all simultaneously. So it's still, I think we've done it in about 45 minutes. It's just really nice, and it's very visual as well, whereas like a lot of roll and writes
boxes.
Just boxes that you tick off, sort of thing, and
or...
you maybe don't understand why you're ticking the boxes off.
No.
Whereas, I say, there's a couple of areas that are a bit more abstracted, but for the most part, it made sense what you were doing. I'm going on tour, I'm producing albums, I'm filling up band members and stuff like that.
It sounds more interesting than I initially thought when I first looked at it, so that might be one I have to check out. How long did that take?
Yeah, about 45 minutes. I think, and that was with a sort of 5-10 minute teach. The teach didn't take too long at all.
So just kind of what you want from
that kind of game, I think. No. So, and that was I thought I was going to like it, but I hadn't looked at it too much because, say, Roll and Write's a game I like, but tend not to be able to get to play. So why invest time looking at it? I thought I'll sign up and see what it's all about. And yeah, it was a fantastic, really good game.
So is it going in your loot bag?
No, it's not. I'm never going to get to play it
just because of the solo play mode. Is that the biggest thing that puts you off?
If it had like a really strong solo play that took up no time, I probably, maybe a smaller box, I probably would, because it'd be a game I could drag, like I've mentioned before, like Railroad Inc. is a tiny box that I can play solo very quickly, 15-20 minute games. And I think Draft and Write Records could, with a good solo mode and maybe a smaller box, could fill up that space or be another one in addition to that space. But I've got Ganshon Clever. If that's a very similar thing, maybe without the theme, I'll give that a few goes probably next instead.
Okay. You mean record bag, Davey?
Record bag. I know. Well,
you went escape plan thing, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, just thought I'll stick with a loot bag now. I quite like the sound of it.
We'll go loot bag.
Yeah. Makes it sound like if I play enough, someone's going to give me an option of a box that's got a random item inside.
How about you, mate?
For me, my most surprising game was actually Faraway. Yes. I completely...
You said it right!
I completely... further away.
Farther away.
I'm getting further and further away from the point.
Far away.
So, I completely dismissed it when I first saw it. It just didn't look up my street. I do like lighter games, but it didn't look like it had any crunch to it. But it actually has a quite unique mechanic. When you get up close to the artwork, it's really cool as well. It's kind of like a psychedelic shroom punk like aesthetic to it. It looks quite cool, the little artwork on
It's
it.
trying to represent different cultures, right? But it's doing it in this weird sort of, as you say, like sort of psychedelic and cartoony sort of way.
It's really cool.
I think is a really good
it
idea.
looks really good. So it's set collection. It's a set collection with drafting. It has a quite cool little mechanic where you have these little maps, which I think called relics, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where if you play a card that's lower than the one that you next play, you get to draw from this little deck, which adds more sets or adds certain things that you get out, and you pick one of those.
Okay.
But obviously, if you can get more maps, draw more of those, it's easier to filter out and get the right sets. So you kind of drafting, you're looking at everything from what kind of symbol it has, what symbols are needed to score VPs, etc., and you're planning down. The unique mechanic comes in the fact that at the end, you flip these cards and then you play the card from right to left rather than left to right.
Yeah.
And then you reveal it. And so if this card on the far right basically says, you need these sets, and you've only flipped that, and you've got none of them on the relic cards
Revealed,
and none of them on the revealed on the cards, you're not getting any points.
No.
So you've got to build this real nice sequencing engine that goes along. And it's just... It had a lot of crunch for a really light game.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was just really surprising.
It was worth me queuing for an hour in Essen then.
I was going to say,
yeah, it was.
Was this the one you queued up for?
This is the one I
And he was
queued
late for dinner.
right on the end of
There you
the...
So, yeah.
So what do you say? Say thank you, Adrian.
You're welcome! Yes, Dad.
He nearly missed pizza for that.
Yeah, he did,
did,
yeah.
But he still got it, so it was the best.
It was worth it, I think. I might purchase it in a minute. That might go in my loot bag.
Loot bag.
But it's not available at the moment.
No,
so.
it's good. You can import it, but they've got
not
no
worth
English rulebook for it still. The only way you could get the English rulebook was to go to Essen or print it off on PDF.
Okay.
So
But it's kind of... It's
not. Once
independent, isn't it?
Once you've got the rules down, there's nothing there that will challenge you really from a rules perspective. I think it's quite similar to Furnace in a feel of you're building a bit of an engine and you're sort of trying to get cards and all that kind of stuff, but it's got less rules over. It's not quite as crunchy as Furnace, but it's got a lot less rules overhead than Furnace.
But it still has enough to satisfy that need when playing that type of game, which was nice.
It's the third time I've shown it off, and every time someone's gone, I did not expect this game to be this crunchy, and I'm finding it quite a joy to show it to people because of that.
I'll have to play it then.
For this limited time, which even though it's a weekend, you always feel like you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
What was the biggest game you played?
Ooh. So the biggest game I didn't play, but I managed to teach. So I'm going to count that.
So you got a little teacher cap on.
Teacher cap on, but I have played it, so it still counts.
Did you have a pointing stick as well?
I did have Paul Grogan's chopstick.
Yeah.
Oh, no. You did?
I forgot to use it.
Oh,
so,
no. No interactive whiteboard?
No, PowerPoint presentation. Settle in. It's a long teach. No, I had Mind Clash's literally newest game on GameFound right now, which is Perseverance Episode 3. And as most people will probably know, as we promoted it on our socials, I played it on Gaming Rules with Curly. We've played it in the group. And I've still got the prototype, so we can still play it if anyone else is interested.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yes, well,
it's my favourite episode. I loved it.
Yeah, it's my favourite episode.
Yeah, so we managed to get a few players around there. We had Mark Monk from Ninja Key Games. It's good to see him again. And Joel from Devon Dice podcast. We had James from Board Game Jimmy. And then we had Mark from Malta.
Oh.
So, yeah.
So it was like a content creator game, is it? Yeah,
apart from Mark. So he was kind of like, I need to go and do something to feel like I'm part of the cool kids. His words.
But he's quite regular on Slack as well. He talks regular. A lot on Slack. So
he's there every day. I've chatted with him. I've gamed online with Mark, mainly Lacerda games or Mind Clash games. He loves heavy games, so this was his jam. And it was a joy to bring that game to life for different people. So very quickly, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of it because we've played it on the channel. I know Curly's talked about this at a probably great length, and that'll come out in a future episode. But it's Dino Riders, it's Perseverance as you know it, but twisted up in its mechanics in different ways. So it kind of has that exploration that you can kind of go off, but you're using Dino worker placement along with dice drafting worker placement, and it kind of blends the whole thing together. And it's Mind Clash. It's crunchy. Lots of decisions to be made. Lots of little combos to be had. Thematically, I think it's great because I just love the themes of it anyway. But it was just nice to see how new people kind of took to it, and we had a bit of a mix at the table. Some have only played episode 1, not episode 2. Some have not played any, and then some have played both. So yeah, it was interesting. You could tell the people who played Perseverance before are kind of, you know, manoeuvring the city to try and dominate, and maybe left the wilderness, the top half of the board, alone a little bit more. Whereas the new players are just kind of going, push buttons, man, see what happens. Dino Riders, they're cool.
As deep as I can into the wilderness.
And to be fair, they got pretty much out there between them, which is quite a contrast to the play we had on the Gaming Wall stream, where we didn't actually. Okay. But we only did a 3-player, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was for me.
Did everyone enjoy it, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think everyone had a blast. The thing is with doing that, I was quite nervous before. Even though I knew the game, played it a few times. And I think you probably felt this, Adrian, when you did your one, which we won't mention yet.
We'll get to it.
But yeah, as like the hour before, it was kind of like, oh yeah, I've got to do this teach, and it's sponsored, so it needs to be good.
It needs to be at least somewhat professional.
It needs to be professional, and it needs to be coherent. And then yeah, it was kind of oh god, yeah, panic starts setting in a little bit. But I think I did alright. I think I did well.
Your teacher's always good, mate. That's one thing that you excel at.
It's a heavy game, as you know. So it's like
one of the many.
Buckle in, guys, because this is going to be a good 30 to 40 minute teach at least, and it was.
Yeah.
But you can't not be that. You can't just rock up 5 minutes and then go right. You'll go, because it's just like there's so much in it. But yeah. I love episode 3. I think it's a great one. I'm still deciding whether it beats 2 or not for me.
I haven't played enough of 2 to actually give a proper opinion. But from the feel, I think I do enjoy 3 more, but I do need to play 2 more.
Yeah.
I just never get round to playing it because the only time you did it usually recently was a campaign, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a combo of 1.
But no, it's more streamlined, so I think it would play quicker than 2 anyway. So that might have the edge. But
yeah,
I find that slightly simpler than 2. It might be just me.
No,
the way it is. It's slightly simpler.
General consensus is that it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is, but it still has that crunch.
Oh,
I think
definitely,
it just because of the fact that it's streamlined. Yes, it makes more sense as to why you're doing this and this and
it's more
this.
accessible.
You don't get locked out of certain things as easy. So yeah, it's just good.
That's my big game.
I'll go on to my big game. Barrage. We got that to the table.
I'm waiting for it.
We got it to the table. And I taught it, and I think I did alright with the teach.
You did good with the teach, to be fair.
I did so well that Martin absolutely took to it like a fish in water. And absolutely dominated the board. We kind of all just let him take all the resources, all the neutral dams, and then just absolutely continue to shit all over us.
It's kind of embarrassing, really. Wasn't
it was.
From our part, we played before.
But I still enjoyed it. I know where I kind of messed up, and I was like, I'm just not in this anymore. I've cocked up massively, and I know I'm not in it anymore, but I'm still just going to try and do as best as I can and go along. But JP you'd got into a brick wall, hadn't you? You had literally got to a point where you're like, I'm screwed. I can't do anything.
I was the crash test dummy that come out of the car into the wall and cried.
We nearly saw the first grown man at GRIDCON cry. He was. It was like me playing Game of Thrones. It was literally. There was a point where I thought you were going to stand up and leave, JP. I was like, oh shit, this is.
I was close.
Yeah, it was
close.
There was a few of us sat sort of next door to you guys playing Dune Imperium with the expansions, which was a great game. And we were all like having fun, because obviously Dune Imperium is quite a light game. And then we looked across at just the misery of JP's face. And having played the game before, I could see that he had kind of not got it right.
Yeah.
But there was other people playing the game, and you literally just pointed at the stack of this is the backup action, isn't it? It's just
Bank.
basically like, is the bank, whatever it is. And you just pointed at like all your workers there and went, this is the backup action, and these are all my workers. These are in it. This tells you how good it's going. And I was just wetting myself in laughter because you looked miserable. And me probably laughing at you probably didn't help that either, but you looked like you were just, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah, I don't mind if people take the piss when I'm like that. That's fine. It's you've been there. We've probably all been there. But when you kind of tilt, it's your frustration with yourself.
Yeah.
Than it is anybody else, because the only person's fault is mine. Because I got in that situation.
I think it was all of ours in that sense, in the fact that Martin did just... It wasn't like... I mean, you were probably only about 10 VPs behind me, weren't you, in the end?
No, a lot. No, more.
Was it?
Yeah, like 30, either way.
It didn't seem like a lot, but then Martin was like 40 or 50 ahead of everyone else. Yeah. So it wasn't... I don't think it was necessarily... Your bad players, all of ours. We just let someone run away with that game, and there's a certain amount of VPs on the board.
There's some bad play.
No, I know, and I play bad as well. But I'm saying we also kind of none of us helped this game situation because that game is competitive, and we've let someone take all the resources off the board, which are a limited amount, and kind of run away. And I focused too much on trying to build this one strategy. I was like, I'll combo this my power with the contracts on the board, which are like -3 energy, and then I had a thing that was 4 energy, so I could basically any energy I took was 4 energy. So basically, all these middle contracts, these 7s, I could do pretty easily, both with 1 drop of water. So I was like, I built up to this combo. By then, it was just too late. The game was nearly over. I was like, oh no, I was just really inefficient with it, but. Yeah. I still enjoyed it, and you came out the other side.
I did, yeah.
You got out of the ditch and you crawled back up, and then you realised that I can actually do stuff now.
Yeah, I think that was it. It was the frustration of I did some basically poor choices, and the fact that Martin had dominated the map, and I was just starved. I just didn't have anything. I couldn't get in anything.
About an hour of you just looking dejected.
I was just trying to work
side of that hour you looked quite happy, but there was just an hour in the middle where you just like...
How? I just went, I don't know how to do it. I felt like fucking useless.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't see how to get out of this problem.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, racking my brains and going, right. And then I made a decision, it was wrong. That compounded it even worse. I was like, you idiot, now I can't do this.
It's one of those points where I think you should have just been like, I don't need to build any dams now. I need to instead build an energy house off a neutral and start taking
exactly.
And as soon as we did that, we were able to slow Martin down, and then his points started, that gap started dropping a lot more. But it wasn't until that situation where everyone went, why haven't we done this earlier? And did that it started to, and that comes with practice with that game. It is a punishing game.
It's because I've not played it for a while, and I probably forgot that you could even do that as a strategy. And it was just one of them things. I think if you'd asked me at the time, I said I want to burn this game and never play it again.
well, you did say that.
Yeah. To be fair, I did say that.
But at the end, you said you'd play it again.
Yeah, I did. I would play it again. Yeah. I think I'll be more mindful of.
It's a game where you have to pay attention to what other people are doing. And I forgot that when I started playing it as well.
It just likes to kick you in the balls, that game.
Yeah, loads of people came over to us and went, "You having a good time?"
and then they looked at all my workers in the bank and went, "What's going on here?" I'm like, "Could you just piss off a minute? Because I'm having a bad game." Like, I appreciate it, but not now.
Someone came over and really, really likes to kick you when you're down this game, doesn't it? Sometimes.
Shut up.
And it does, but it does. It's still one of my favourite games. Yeah. It creates stories and moments like that, and it's not maybe the best feeling sometimes, but as long as you know sometimes you're going to have bad games with it, or sometimes, and that's fine by you, then it's a good game.
So probably my biggest game of the weekend was Kutna Hora. So, and it's not really the longest or the biggest game. I just deliberately chose to not play any sort of big, expansive 3-4 hour games. So I played with Andy, Phil and Mark, and it was a hot games library. So for those who don't know, there's a sort of new back from Essen library where you have to sign up and sign it out, and then sort of arrange a game once it's signed up and signed out. So Andy signed it out, and got to the table, and I got there about half hour early, and I thought, I'll just start reading the rule book. Why not? So Andy was like, right, I've got most of the teach down, but I've not played it before. And Mark said, basically, I've watched a video so I could kind of get a feel for it. So Andy did a great job in doing the teach, but having not played it, it's quite hard sometimes to make sure you got all the rules right.
Yep.
So the bits where he wasn't quite, I can't remember what I said for that. Normally, where I'd read half the rule book and Mark had watched a video, normally one of us was able to go, oh, that works like this. So it's kind of a bit of a combined teach with Andy leading it, which was actually fine and worked really well, I think.
It's a bit like our Revive teach from last year.
Yeah.
It's exactly the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
And it just works sometimes, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does.
Especially with a new game where you've not had a chance to play it or like really spend a lot
Sometimes
of
if
time.
it has weird interactions or weird links as well, it's nice to have someone to back you up with a rule clarification, etc.
Yeah, and it's an interesting game. It's got a lot of what I'd call sort of more typical Euro stuff going on in it. So you start with a deck of, I think it's 7 cards. No, it might be 6 cards.
Mark, where's Mark when you need him?
Oh, I've got where you're going now. That's a weird thing to say. Anyway, right.
I got you what you meant.
So you have 6 cards in your hand. Each card has 2 actions, and you play the first sort of your turns. You play 2 cards, and you pick an action off of each card. Second one, you do exactly the same. And then the last one, you just play 1 card and pick one of the actions. And the actions are fairly simple. You have an action where you kind of get the right to build a building. So you take one of the tiles off of one of the stacks you're allowed to build. Everyone's only allowed to build from certain stacks. Like they own the sort of the rights to build from these guilds, basically. And so you pick that. There's one which is plot, where you pay the cost of being next to one of the tiles, and being next to one of the tiles has an individual cost. So the nicer the plot, because it's going to be next to a nicer building, the more it costs. You can then build a building, which is taking that right and putting the tiles down. And then you can also mine, which is a different section of the board. So that's all to do with the top section of the board. Down the bottom section of the board is the mine, which is a bit of an area of control. So each level, however many stars, and each of the tile has either 0 to 3 stars, I think we saw. Each tile has that number of stars on it, and then you put your little miner like character on top of it, and whoever has the most stars wins, and the more stars there are, the more points you win at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And there's kind of 4 levels, so you're sort of trying to get the most out of each of the levels that you can. And there's a few other bits and pieces in there. There's like bonus actions for putting down so many buildings, and you've got a reputation track, which means that certain actions are cheaper. And there's a joker. One of the cards has a joker on it, which is you lose a reputation and you get to do any action. So it's kind of a get out of jail free card. But if you've got enough reputation, the joker doesn't cost you the reputation. So it's kind of the more reputation had, the joker can't do any more damage to you, basically. And then there's some point scoring at the end. And at the very end of the game, all of these buildings that you've played, your building gets is worth a number of points equal to the same sort of coloured dot that's on it, that's adjacent. And some have 1 coloured dot, some have 2 different coloured dots, some have 3. So you're just looking for adjacencies. But as you play the tile, it will normally either give you a little bonus, or it will put your production up, or it will do something to these population and mining decks. And this is kind of, I'm going to use the word gimmick for lack of a better thing, but it's kind of the difference that you probably haven't seen in a lot of games. So you move like these sliders along, so different sliders, and as you move the sliders along, normally things get lower value. So wood goes from a 3 to a 2, for instance. You can also, behind it, to sort of give you that number, behind it is a deck of cards, and as the population increases, you turn over, you like get rid of decks of cards off the deck, and it then changes the numbers behind it as well. So you're playing this balancing game of the population increasing, making things cheaper or more expensive, and then the more you build wood, the sort of cheaper its value is. So the demand goes down, and it can get to a point where it says you now can't build any more of these because it's not big enough. The population's not big enough to house this. So you're not the government or the local council or whatever is not going to give you rights to build any more of these buildings. And it's an interesting mechanic because as someone builds more wood, like it's like, now every time you need to spend a wood, it only costs 1. And because you never really have wood or stone or anything to build, you just pay the coin's worth of how many wood's around. So it's kind of, you're trying to play this game of waiting till your production, when you get income, you want the number to be high, but when you're spending it, you want the money to be as low as possible, and you're kind of playing this back and forward, and it all fit together really nicely. Apart from the fact that quite often things were like, oh, let's flip this population deck, and you had to know kind of what to expect. You almost had to look at the next 3 or 4 population cards to kind of see what it was going to do to the value to make an informed decision. And it was the bit that people kind of kept sticking on. It felt like they were like, well, if the population goes up by 3 and my next action is to spend on whatever it is, wood or meat or beer, I think was one of them, what's that gonna...
Sounds like a good night.
What's that?
Yeah, true.
I don't want to know. What's that going to do to the production or to the cost of my next action?
Yeah.
And it was just a little bit of a sticking point because it's kind of hidden information almost, and it feels like it shouldn't be hidden information. So everyone's just kind of flicking through the cards to see what it will do if you move the slider along or whatever. Otherwise, it was actually a really strong, good combination. The art design is quite different but cool because it's black and white, but there's a lot of silver, and it's actually silver. Like it's got a sheen to it, like that runs all the way through the board because silver and coal mining, so hence the black and silver theme. And it all kind of fits together really well, apart from, unfortunately, what I think is the key change to it, which just didn't work for me. But everyone around the table seemed to have a good time, so I enjoyed it, just wouldn't get it for that reason. But everyone around the table had a good time.
So that's something that will come with plays, though?
It was, so there's the population deck is 5 columns wide with 3 different sliders and 70 cards.
Oh, okay.
And the mining one is 2 different sliders, but 3 different figures, 4 wide, I want to say, with 30 odd cards in it.
It is a strange...
Well, they're randomised.
No. As the population goes up, things go up.
Right.
But there's
But there's a lot of numbers.
Yeah, that's a lot of numbers. Like if you take like 90 cards.
It's a spreadsheet.
If you take 90, it is a spreadsheet that it's just got like a thing.
It's kind of a strange thing to have in a Euro game.
Yeah.
That randomness where you're trying to plan, I need this, and this to do this, but you don't know that.
And there's too many numbers in there.
It sounds like one I really want to play because I like the resource setup and the resource trading sounds unique and interesting, but the randomness may put me off. So it's definitely one I have to play. So I'm guessing it's not going in your loot bag from your response.
No, it's a game I would absolutely play again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't purchase it personally. And there's randomness in it because not only have you got the different piles of different tiles, but as I say, there's 3 guilds you're allowed to build from, and each of them behave slightly differently. And I think there's 6 in total, and they get random. Or maybe there's 6 in total, and they get randomised among the play. You just can't have 2 of the same one. And like coal and wood is a cheaper production, but their buildings are cheaper, so plots next to them are cheaper, and you kind of got to make the most of those kind of things. And if you're kind of not thinking the right way, if you've got an odd combination, which one of the players at the table I think did, they had an odd combination, it took them too long to work out.
Yeah.
Kind of, they were saying, I'm just not getting, you guys are getting 200 money, but I'm getting like 20. But the buildings and the plots next to would have cost less, but they hadn't you hadn't figured that out far enough, like quick enough into the game. So there's some replayability, but on your first play, I think someone might have it tough on that first play as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
But no, it was enjoyable. I think it took 2 and a bit hours.
Okay.
With a half-hour sort of teach put together.
Yeah.
And enjoyable. Just not one that I would personally purchase for the population deck.
Fair enough.
Okay. How about you, Tambo?
The biggest game I think I played was the first game I played, which I thought I was going to go play June, and then I saw you and JP sat there, and it was a Planta Nubo. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be.
It was deceivingly heavy, wasn't it?
Yeah. When JP was saying that, it looked a lot anyway, so actually maybe it wasn't. Well, it was heavy, but it probably did look as heavy as it was.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. Really good fun. It was about growing. Last time it was JP. It was about growing plants, wasn't it? And flowers. More flowers.
Plants in the sky.
In the skies. Yeah.
Sky platforms.
Yeah. Steampunk plants.
Steampunk. That's it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird steampunky agricultural theme.
Automation. Yeah. Steampunk AI plants. But
it's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It's like a worker placement, wasn't it? Generally, I suppose. And then you're on your own little board where you did your own growing your flowers. I say plants, it's flowers. But the worker placement was good. Was it a 3x grid, 3x3 grid?
Depends on player count.
Was it?
Yeah, we have 3 players. So
it was like a 3x3 with an edge.
With extended edges on it,
Yeah. And you have your 4 tools, don't you, your cards, but it's mainly about the colours, isn't it? Not really their tools itself, we just go by the colours, really. And the worker placement was interesting. You put it next to each card, and if you put it between 2, you can, if you've got enough power, I think it was,
in your bot.
That's it. And you
your
could double
garden
up.
bot.
You do a double action at one time, and then you do that once per round, wasn't it?
So overwork?
Yeah,
overwork. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that was quite interesting. And then if no one's gone there, but you go there again with the other card as long as it's a different colour or you haven't been there, which was good. So it means you could do the same action twice, which paid off for me at the end, I think.
Yeah,
a lot. But that was a really good kind of card mechanic, worker placement. Do it different.
Yeah, it's like the blocking is like if I put a yellow screwdriver down, then that means another player can't put a yellow screwdriver down against the same tiles that it's next to.
So it's touching,
Yeah, so you kind of like, and you're always saving one, which I'm sure Tambo will get to, but you're always saving one of your tools for the end of the round, which matters. Because actually in the middle of the game, it doesn't really matter what tool you're using for what, other than it blocks. But knowing that I want to keep the red one, and then someone goes dung dung and puts the ones that you've got
you
left.
have to use the red one to do what you want to do.
Bit of contention there, which is quite nice.
Yeah,
it means you have to kind of work around and plan around a little bit. But
that's typical worker placement, isn't it? You have to plan like your tool for the last point of the game where you get the special abilities for that tool for the character, isn't it? No,
it's called the crafting phase. But it's like a character lends their ability for the round at the end of the round.
I found it heavy at the beginning. I was a bit like JP with Barrage. I was getting a bit huffy because I think Davey was doing all this comboing, and then when it came to me, I was like doing this and that, and that was it.
You beat me by 1 point.
I know, exactly, which I think makes a good game, because if you think you're not doing well with your engine, but actually doesn't have to do, you don't actually necessarily need a good big engine on it.
No,
but it was very.
You were doing efficient choices where I just had more to do. I was just doing more, exactly, but it wasn't necessarily as efficient.
No. The thing I liked about it is the on your player board, you obviously got the polyomino kind of Tetris style shapes that you're putting on, but
very Feast for Odin, it reminds me.
Yeah, it's not all about that though. It's it's a part of the game, but when you look at it, you think it's going to be all about this the sky platform, but it's the modules that you get. So you're kind of buying these modules that you're attaching around the whole board. That's the bit I really like, because that's how you customize your engine. And then you have that energy die, don't you? That you kind of power around your board when you fulfill kind of plank contracts and stuff. So that whole mechanic was just interesting, because you're like, well, I want that one for an engine, or I want this one because it triggers off this action. Actually, I want this endgame scoring module. Yeah, that's fun.
There is a lot going on.
Yeah,
I will say that there is a lot going on.
Bitty, isn't it?
It's very bitty. So you've got your polyomino board, and then to the right you've also got your like tool shed or whatever it is.
Tool shed, exactly what it is. Yeah.
Which has other things going on it. Like basically you've got contracts you have to fulfill with certain colour plants that you might be on there, which give you energy, which you're moving around your board, which is how you then do your modules, which is then maybe giving you VPs or giving you actions, which you then take off and then do said action. But that might actually then make you go up your house, which will then give you X amount of ability, and then you're just like
that was what it was, heavy,
malfunction. So I think at one point it probably lost me the game, because I did lose in the end. I just went. I don't know. I'm just doing this. I literally planned an action out, and then it came round to it, and I was like, I don't even know what's more efficient anymore. I'm just doing this because it's got to this point where I'm melting.
It's a combo centric game.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with it, which I found harder than some Lacerdas.
Yeah,
because a lot of Lacerdas, at least I know the path or what point I'm doing, and I've built towards this combos, and this is what I'm doing with this. This I was just like, it's a veritable playground of plants where I'm just like, I don't know what's coming up. I don't know where.
Have we reached Davey's edge of his sandbox? Sandbox games, like you were like right at the edge of. This is too sandbox.
I just don't know what to do.
No. I will play. I enjoyed it. It just made me melt at that one point. I just thought, oh my god, I can't take this anymore.
I think we realised that it's really important to get your personal contracts on your board. So that really
but I got a load of them, and I was like going around the board a lot.
Well, I thought I was doing a lot more once I got them going.
Yeah.
It did feel like that. But you could just do the actual main contracts on the actual other side of the board, which you get a bit of a better reward for.
Yeah.
But then when you do it on your board, you seem to trigger off your engine a lot more, I think.
Yeah, I didn't do the ones on the main board as much,
Yeah.
I don't think.
I did that bit of a heavy at the beginning.
And
then.
getting bot power. Bot power was so important.
Yep.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw a module that eventually gave me bot power, I think it was too late because I had so many modules it wouldn't come right back round to it that quickly.
Wait, what was bot power? Have I missed bot power?
So bot power is your garden bot.
Right,
You
okay.
spend your bot power to overwork. You spend your bot power
To
to
do a double
ignore,
action.
You talked about
to
the
ignore
overwork.
a plant on your contracts. You can use any plant.
Some
colour.
modules might require a bot power.
It's mainly for the overwork thing.
Right,
yeah.
okay.
You need 2
a
power.
solid
or
resource.
You always want to try and get 2, so you at least do your overwork.
Yeah.
Is it your executive action? Is that kind of the...
No,
It's not like an
really,
extra action or anything like
Because you
that?
have the executive action in the power, which are your modules.
Yeah. It's just it's a commodity that is rare as hen's teeth,
Okay.
and you need to
And you
get an
need to
engine for
trigger
it,
a-
ideally.
Fair
But
enough.
it's good. I would put it the biggest downside for me for that game, which is why I would never own it. I don't know whether you'd feel the same time, but it's the setup. It's a typical Odin Feast of Odin for me, where it's just it's a hell of a setup.
Yeah.
It's just bits to it.
looked
There's a
like
lot
a
of
table
bits.
hog as well.
Yeah.
It looked like there was only 3 of you, and you took up like 4.5,
Took up
like
GRIDCON.
4-player table.
Yeah.
That's a bit more, and I was like,
I weirdly take quite pleasure for setup games.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
mind
there
doing
you
it.
go. So
But
that's-
I won't buy it because I wouldn't get it to the table with my other fast time. For the gaming group, definitely, but for the
Yeah.
fan,
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy it because
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
wouldn't get game time on it.
I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, the only thing-
with an insert, I think you'll be
Yeah.
laughing.
yeah, it's just at the minute it's just a load of baggies.
Yeah, it was just a load of
With
baggies.
cubes,
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good.
No, I
it was a
enjoyed
good
it.
one to start with, and your choice was Dune Imperium, but I just fancied playing something new,
Yeah, same.
and it was
It's
just
one
a
of
good
the new
setup.
hotness, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yep, that was the
Planta
biggest one.
Nubo.
That was probably the biggest one for me.
There we go. So moving on, we're going on to the middle games, aren't we? So there's one game that I played, which had the like a common mechanic that everyone knows, a trick-taking mechanic. But it had a very unique way to play this trick-taking mechanic. It's Cat in the Box. So people may have heard of it. If not, basically it's a trick-taking game, but none of your cards actually have colours in your hand. Instead, the colours are kind of represented as a grid on the
it's a
table.
track, isn't it?
Yeah, track. And what you do is when you play your card, you have another card which has blue, red, yellow and green on it. And you slip that card over the top to indicate what colour you go for. And you put your little marker on that grid, marking off that number.
Yeah,
and that said
I've
colour.
played. I think part of the reason why I specifically struggled with it, and I think you did as well, was the teach was not strong to start with. And halfway through, Paul came over and just made a comment about that means you don't have this anymore. And I was like, Paul, you just need to go away. I'm like struggling with this enough as it is already. Like, you're not helping here. And funnily enough, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, what he said clicked, and I was like, now I get it. But what you're doing is on this grid, you put down a 6 and you put the little marker on the 6 blue to indicate that it was a 6 blue.
Okay, yeah.
And so, yeah,
So
that's kind of how
that's-
you,
so
that's
you
how you
put-
indicate what the card
What the
was.
card colour is.
Yeah.
So obviously if I was leading, that's now the main suit. So someone else can play that. If they can't play it, that's fine. If they have no cards of that colour, i.e. they've filled up this space, they can't. They play a different colour.
Yeah.
But if they want to break, what they can do is they can spend a token of that colour on one of your main boards,
Yeah.
your little player marker. But that means you can't ever go on that colour again.
All right.
And then there's a mechanic where if you can't play any card, you create a paradox, and that means it just ends.
Okay.
So it's got a lot of crunch for a trick-taking game, and it creates very unique circumstances of being. You don't want a lot of the same. You don't want if you have like 3 8s in your hand. That's usually like 5.
Normally, you'd think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
In this, it's not.
In
Because
this, it's not.
There's 5 8s, I think it is, in the
Yeah.
deck that can be dealt out. And so if you've got 4 of them and someone plays one, you're only allowed 1 card in your hand at the end of the game. It means there's a likelihood you're not going to get to play all your cards.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's, yeah.
yeah. It's a very unique game on trick taking, and I really enjoyed it. I know, Adrian, you weren't too big of a fan, but for a little box game, all the little components are really nice. It's a very good looking game to get onto the table, especially for, as I said, a little box game. And yeah, I can see myself playing that again, definitely.
They just break me, trick-taking games. They just break me. I don't know why. The only one that doesn't break me is the crew, because it's cooperative.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just can't seem to get my head around what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. And
Just winning one trick.
Yeah, they'll get the premise, but like the long term of actually, this is the one you don't want to win.
This
is the one.
Stay away from Cat in the Box then, because
you also can bet on how many you're going to do,
which is quite common.
But that's not the caveat. The caveat is you can bet, and if you get your bet, then depending on a combination of how you've linked all your colours together
on the board.
So if you had a 7 blue, a 6 blue, a 6 green, which are kind of like next to each other.
That'd be 3 in a row. So you'd get 3
extra
points.
In a row. You'd get 3 extra points.
So my brain's powered already.
Yeah.
But it means you can have a strategy of a low bet.
Yeah.
But try and link all your stuff together instead, and just try and win one trick. And then get your points from the linking on the board,
which is what I tried to do. So
you did well with it.
I did okay with it, but I don't.
Didn't you win?
No, I came like third.
Oh, okay.
But because I quite often, if there's an option, I like trick taking games where there's the option to almost win none and just try and lose all the tricks.
Yeah.
But there's then like a weird mechanic where you can do pretty well out of that. And I didn't realise the way that the actual point scoring worked. So I was like, yeah, I'll go 1 and I'll just win 1 and I'll get loads of points. But actually, because each trick that you win is also worth a point, whether that's what you bet or not. So you could win 5 tricks, you get 5 points even if you only bid for 3.
So you do have to weigh up what's the best option in some aspect. So
there
is a lot of kind of metagaming before you've even played your first card with the bet. And I think that will come with plays as well.
It's a lot for a trick-taking game. And I think... funny enough, Graham, who helps run the board game trading and chat group, he said he's seen a lot of people bounce hard off that game.
Mm-hmm.
Some people love it, and some people seem to bounce. And I don't know that I bounced completely, but I definitely, the teach was rough. Even I was like, I wouldn't want to teach this to anyone because if they're not really used to trick taking games, I think it would be a tough teach.
I think if you explain it in kind of that manner, in the fact that symbolises you're playing that colour, it will help a lot. But we got halfway through and then suddenly it clicked with me. I went, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
It was definitely my roughest game of the convention as well. That was on, so you could go and sort of play a few games on Thursday night. The convention's not really on that day, but and that was like the second game I'd played of the thing, and I was like, oh.
Fair enough.
How about you, JP?
So I'll talk about 20 Strong. Which is weirdly, because it's a solo game. And you think, hang on a minute, JP.
Did you go in solo game over this weekend?
I had one game that was solo, and there's a good reason.
Yeah.
Which was I was waiting for my Perseverance demo. And I had about an hour and a half. And I didn't want to start a big game, because I'd have to exit out of it. So it was like, what can I do? And I went, I know. I've just brought 20 Strong with me. Literally just delivered, Wednesday or Thursday before GRIDCON. So 20 Strong is another chip theory release. Yay! Everyone, shot. But it's it only has one chip in it. It's got one chip, and they only put that chip in.
Is it a theoretical chip?
No, they during the campaign there was like, we've got to put a chip in it because we're chip theory games. If we don't put a chip in one of our games,
so pull out a French fry.
Yeah, so they have a chip. What, a stale French fry?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice, green, lovely. So they've got one chip in it, but it pretty much is dice and cards. So it comes in a real small box,
yes,
which I quite like. So it's travel game size. And 20 Strong is like the dice system, and then you can load in decks into the game, which then flip the rules and change the rules in different areas. So the kind of base deck that you get with 20 Strong is called Solar Sentinels, which thematically are all like these solar power warriors fighting moon bugs like aliens, and basically twatting them until you get to the boss, right? But they have a Too Many Bones deck, of course I've got it, and a Hoplomachus deck. They are kind of looking to release future decks and maybe go to different publishers and kind of bring it in. Similar to similar to Rolling Realms. If you think about how they're doing the different packs that they're bringing games, I think they're going down that road, which is actually it's quite interesting.
Quite cool. There's been a couple of these kind of things where it's like, you can add an extra deck that adds games or the systems I like it.
So the system is really, you've got 20 dice, 20 strong, 3 of the dice are like your stat dice. You've got your health, your strategy, and your recovery. And then you've got 17 just dice with hits and crits on there with various different misses. So very much like Hoplomachus dice, they work in the same way. They have the little notches on there, so you kind of know how many hits are on each dice, which again is quite nice, a visual aid. You've got 1 red one, which always hits. You've got 4 purple, 4 green, blue, and yellow. And really, it's just a simple dice chucking game. So you're kind of committing, or you're picking an enemy. You're deciding how many dice to roll. You roll them, apply the hits. Any that you didn't roll, you can re-roll again, but you use your strategy kind of stat and the amount of re-rolls and extra dice you put into the pool to try and basically defeat these bugs. When you defeat them, you'll get their items, and they can basically give you better stats or abilities that you can use, and you just kind of churning your way through to the boss. It's quite simple. It's quite straightforward, and I've died about 7 times. It's not easy either, because you get also missions that you have to complete left to right as well. So it would be like, you need to apply different dice colours on this commit step, or you need to use so many items or whatever. And the more missions that you leave undone by the boss, they bring more mates in to get killed. So it's just a nice kind of, I wouldn't say lightweight, because it's chip theory games and they make it a bit more crunchy than just the standard dice chucker, but I was quite impressed with what it was doing.
What was your playtime? Obviously less than an hour and a half, because that's what you had to do.
I think I was playing it for like 40 minutes, where you guys were playing Clank, wasn't it? And I think I had about 3 games.
Nice.
Obviously, the first game was awful.
Yeah, I remember you having like 5 bugs next to you.
Yeah, and got completely
like, this is never happening.
I'm going to die. And I've learned I've got a rule wrong, which didn't help. So, but yeah, and I played it a few times on the Sunday when I got home, because I'd not played enough games, so I thought I'd give it a go.
I was packing up tables and stuff like that, and you're like, look at the games I'm playing. I was like, I've done this wrong.
Just played some solo games. But I'm looking forward to trying the Too Many Bones deck and the Hoplo deck, because they really kind of switch it up a little bit.
Cool.
It just says, well, the cards look cool, didn't they?
Yeah,
they glisten foil.
Got like a foil, kind of artwork to them. Really,
is that the standard or the deluxe?
Standard. There's only one.
There's only one
thing. That's what you get.
Retail? Is it only Kickstarter?
They'll sell it directly on their web store, but they just fulfilled it. So I think it will probably be available. I reckon they'll pre-order it for the Black Friday, which is this Friday. I think Black Friday.
Yes. Well.
Yeah.
Yes.
It will be. Yeah. So I think it will be available then, probably fulfilled early next year, I believe, if people are interested in it. But yeah, I thought I'd just talk about it.
I'm sure we'll absolutely hear about it, but I am intrigued to hear about how these extra modules go.
Yeah, I'd like to see how they twist it, because I know the Hoplo deck, for example, you build Mount Vesuvius out of the cards, and then you travel around the cards defeating the enemies, which is very much like Victorium. It's just kind of how it works, but obviously done through cards and dice and stuff. But
I'm intrigued.
It's cool. Sounds good. It's very cool. That's me.
How about you, Tambo?
Well, like midweight game that I played. It's nothing new now. I haven't played anything different really. It was Betrayal. I showed it to Becky, and I know Martin wanted to play it. It's the second edition.
Betrayal of House on the Hill?
Yeah, Betrayal of House on the Hill, 3rd edition, I think it is.
Okay.
So they wanted to play it, and it's a quite a quick game. But obviously plays better with more people. But we played with the minimum number of people, which is 3. It's just a quick tile exploration of the mansion, and then you get to a certain point when the haunting begins. And we did the scenario where we had a mysterious invitation, so we went as friends as a mysterious invitation, and it turned out to be, once it all kicked off, the haunting kicked off, it turned out to be, we put this photo behind the statue, and then we all hate each other, so we just go kill each other. Pretty much just free-for-all. So it was the last final one. Yeah, that's brilliant, yeah. So unfortunately Becky was right next to me, and I already powered up quite a lot. So I just...
You murdered it, didn't you?
Yeah, stick a dynamite underneath her and boom. It was
a dynamite?
Yeah, I had a stick of dynamite throughout the mansion, apparently. So that was good fun. And Martin seemed to enjoy it a little bit. But it would have been better with more people, because free-for-all was one of the scenarios of many different ones you can do. Because there's also a traitor who does his own objectives, or you could work together to do one objective, depending on what the scenario turns out. But this just happened to be a free-for-all, which
I always thought this was more of a social game, and I do not know why.
What do you mean? Social game?
As in more of a... So like Avalon?
No. It's just like a... It's a tile. It's not a bit like Clank. You put your tile down to room to doors, and you match each different room, and each room has an event or an item or an omen.
I don't know why.
Some scenarios will have like a hidden traitorish mechanic, but sometimes you won't even know you're the traitor until you flip to certain cards.
No one knows they're traitor.
Like Cylon.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But you don't know the traitor till you get a certain omen, then you match the picture of the omen, to the person who did it, and then it tells you what book number to look in the book.
Yeah.
So it could be like Adrian said, hidden traitor, an actual traitor,
Yeah.
not a traitor, and you're working together to fulfill the thing, or free for all.
So is it different every time?
Oh yeah, it's books,
Yeah.
that really thick book with
So
different
you kind
scenarios.
of just don't know what the hell's going to happen.
I mean, one scenario when I was playing with my niece and nephew, he turned into a wasp man, and he had all like Spider-Man, but he's wasp man, and he had all these bees that attacked us, and he kept stinging me, and I died.
The bees!
Yeah.
The bees!
Yeah, exactly. And then the other scenario, my brother-in-law had a demon dog with him who kept go around trying to eat us. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
all
'cause it
different.
has
Everything's different.
Yeah, it has got good reviews, and it's obviously a classic. I just never played it.
And it played within about 40 minutes, 50
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
It's so simple. You just go around, turn the tile, do the thing, get items, have fun.
I don't know if they've changed it in more recent editions, but I've had a few games of it where you just turn a card and you're dead.
right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that happened this.
Yeah,
I don't
which
know
is
that.
just when you've been like, as you say, it's quick. So, but yeah, like some games I've played have been really good, and you're
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, I know what I'm doing. A bit of exploration. And sometimes you're like, oh, we must be doing really good. Oh, you're all dead. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There is player elimination in it, but like I said, when you get to that point, generally it doesn't last long.
Oh yeah, it's not going to last
Yeah,
much longer
yeah,
after
yeah.
that. But
As long as they kind of balance that, and if the game's not too long, it's not too bad, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think in the third edition you can actually loot people when they're dead now. That's what you can do with the body and stuff, which is funny. But that's the whole point of it. It's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Just
Don't take it seriously.
No,
Just
it was
laugh
just played
with
within
it.
an hour.
Yeah.
It was good
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
What other kind of middling games do you play? Because I'm guessing those weren't the only ones you play, and we're probably not going to get through every game, so we've had to kind of categorise this somehow. So, Adrian, what other
yeah,
games did you get through?
So I got through a couple of other ones. So there's ones that I've talked about quite a few times, but I put Viking Seesaw in front of our group, and the first comment was, these are really nice components. And it's just a really basic dexterity game. But I think probably the next one to talk about for me really
Is that the balance one? Where
yeah,
you
it's
have
the
to
ship
get
with the balancing on it. I've talked about it.
Buckaroo, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was me who said that the opponents. were
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, no,
Fancy buckaroo.
Curly and Becky both mentioned it, and it's just, yeah, it's a dexterity game which has really nice components, but in a tiny little box. So it's perfect for sort of taking around, and I really enjoy
Great
playing
fun
it.
game.
But
I'd really
yeah,
do it.
yeah, I think it's a good game. But the one I kind of really wanted to talk about next was Art Society. So it's a Mighty Boards game that we picked up in Essen. Myself and Becky played a single round of it, or 2 rounds of it, I think it was. Didn't take long to play, and you kind of don't get a feel for a game fully. So I thought I was going to enjoy it, but I just wanted to sort of check, and I said to Becky, can we please play this before the end of the convention? And we got to it and played with myself, Becky, Stuart and Joel from Devon Dice. And he'd said the same, that he'd looked at it and decided not to pick it up. And at the end of it, he was like, I've missed out on this one, I think. It's coming to retail in a couple of months, a couple of weeks' time, I think it is. But what you're doing is collecting artwork. And it's quite simple. The turn is quite simple. The first player moves round, but the first player picks however many players there are, plus 1 pieces of different sized art. You don't get to see the artwork, you just pick a different size piece of art. And you put them all out, and then you've got a deck of cards which is 1 to 20, and you play one of those cards. You never get them back in your hands. So once you've spent that value, it's done. And then whoever has the highest value gets to pick the piece of art first.
That's cool. I like that.
And what you're doing is you are trying to put, there's 2 kind of elements to the piece of art. You've got the type of subject it is, so is it landscape, portrait, still life, that kind of thing. And you've got different style of frames. Is it a metal frame, a wooden frame, a pearl frame? And what you're trying to do is put the same kind of frames together, because it gives you nice little bits of extras to fill up the wall. And filling up the wall, or getting so many bits that you can't fill the wall, like bad bits of artwork that you can't hang up, will trigger the end of the game. So kind of getting these little bits to help fill up the wall is useful. So you're trying to put different frames together, but you're trying to put the types of art further apart, because no one wants to see a landscape painting next to a landscape painting. That's a faux pas. And that's kind of, you're going with that, but whatever painting isn't picked, so there's plus 1, whatever type of painting isn't picked, the number on the back, so the size of it, goes to the museum, and that piece of art increases in value by that much. And then at the very end, you keep doing this round after round, and then once the end of game is triggered, you look at how much, sort of what the value of each piece of artwork is. So the most valuable, every one you have on your wall that is not next to another of its types, it's not a faux pas, scores 5 victory points. The next valuable one will score 4 for each you've got in the wall, then 3, then 2, then 1. And there's like a strip down the mid, it's called the eye line. And if for all of them, for the most valued piece of work, so whatever scored 5 points, for all of those you've got in that strip is also worth another 3 points, whether it's a faux pas or not. And so you're playing this game of trying to match up the frames and not put things next to each other and trying to fit it all in. And at the same time, you're trying to boost the value and not take the ones. So sometimes going last is actually really quite useful because there's a load of 2 types and you particularly want to boost up one compared to the other. Like I had a load of portraits in my... portraits in my eye line. So I was desperately trying to push the portraits up, but 2 people were trying to push the... I think it was scenic, it was a yellow colour. They were really trying to push that up. So me on my own had no chance of kind of trying to push it up, but I'd kind of made that decision already. And it's just a really fun tile placement. I like tile placement games. I like that kind of quick auction style of who's going first, like the bidding style. And it just came together into a really nice sort of mid-weight, maybe slightly lower than mid-weight, sort of tile placement and adjacency and all that kind of thing. In a single game. I really enjoyed it. I'll be picking up
it's like a bidding puzzle
at retail. Yeah, because you're trying to put things, you're trying to put those frames together, but not the types, and you're trying to also give yourself enough room to keep putting paintings out. And
I saw some people playing it, and I really liked the look of it.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a beautiful looking game.
It also has a dual layered box, which serves no purpose than being dual layered on a box. Because the painting, the front is all of these like all of the frames stick out, and all of the
textured frame.
All of the painting itself is background. So I thought, well, we've had dual layer player boards that I've seen. We've had basically dual layered dice, which is Dice Forge. Yeah. Now we've got dual layered boxes.
Dual layered meeples. Seen one there.
Yeah.
It's going in my collection. It's going to replace a couple of games.
That sounds good. How about you, T? Play anything else?
Yeah, I've just played games that we've talked about all the time now. But I'll just mention Clank. I played Clank Catacombs, and I'm just going to mention this because I've played this game about 5 to 6 times, and I've never gotten out. Really? No, never.
Just stomping around the dungeon,
and I died.
Have you died above the line?
Yes.
Oh, that's something.
I've done that once before, but I have most of the other times I've died deep in the dungeon.
JP, add a fanfare.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to mention I played it. I played the red character. I can't remember his name, but he's the guy who deals off the other companions in the game.
That's right. Yeah.
And I actually got out, and to top it off, I actually beat Curly by 4 points. So
nice.
Yeah,
so add another fanfare.
My best.
Yeah, there we go. Add another fanfare.
So that's I'm not going to get too much detail because we talked about it a lot, so there's no point. But that's one of the good games.
Yeah, so I need to get Catacombs because it is just. I think it is just definitively the best version.
Yes,
but it's that standard. Oh, it's that standard thing like with Doom Uprising coming out. It's one of those where it's like, oh, they keep making the same game but better versions of it. Stop it.
Yeah, now I'm going to have to bin the old one for no reason. Yeah, I'll just, whilst you're on the theme of games we've played, I'll just do a whistle stop of a few that we've done.
A what?
A whistle stop tour.
A whistle stop,
yeah,
okay,
a whistle stop.
Yeah.
So Terraforming Mars we played.
Yeah, we did.
And that was great.
Who won that?
Who won that? Curly.
Yeah. I came second.
Dominated, but you went far behind, weren't you?
I went far behind.
Yeah,
you didn't dominate as much as you thought you would.
No. But again, I just enjoyed playing it, and not much more to say. It's Terraforming Mars.
Yeah,
we talked
about it.
To death. And then on the it's Friday. Yeah, on the Friday evening, we kind of got to the end, and we just wheeled out 7 Wonders.
Yeah.
Again. Just
I really
nice and
enjoyed
chill.
that. Yeah.
Rob's never played before. Martin had not played before. Tambo was like, I've forgotten the
expansions
rules.
or no
It's been a while.
Base. Otherwise, if I didn't have noobs, I would have put leaders in at least to throw it in. But it was just nice play, and I thought, I've forgotten I like this, and I've put an event in.
We need to put boats in.
Have you put an event in?
Yeah, well, that's why
Armada.
I put an event in.
Armada, yeah.
Because I want to get to Armada and try it.
Yeah.
So that is the plan. So that's 7 Wonders. Not going to talk about it. Everyone knows what it is, I'm sure. If not, check it out.
If no one's going science, go science.
Go science.
Yeah.
And anyone can work out our science scores, good on you.
Yeah.
But this is the thing.
We know. I'm just playing.
Because I've played it a load without the app, and I was like, right, here's how science scores. But JP was like, just put it in the app and it'll work out for you. I was like, you need to know how it scores.
Yeah, it's basically a load of old number bollocks, and it just works. You just get a lot of them and a lot of different ones, and you get lots of points.
I think you explained it to me about 4 times, and I still don't
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. You basically have to divide by pi, and then you square root the number, and then
you win.
Yeah, remember BODMAS, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I managed to win that one. I never win 7 Wonders, so I was happy. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There we go. Couple of games.
There we go. How about you, Adrian?
So I was able to teach Barcelona. It was a sponsored game. I was very happy when Paul invited me and said, would you be interested in teaching one of the sponsored games? So a board and dice game designed by Danny Garcia. It's, I would say, the upper end of middleweight. What you're doing is they basically brought down the walls because Barcelona was a walled city and it was filthy and horrible and life expectancy was really low. And they decided to bring down the walls. And what you're doing is showing them the sort of migration of people out of this centre of Barcelona and how they built up this sort of orthogonal road system with all the buildings in it. And it's a great game, but it's filled with lots of little actions. There's I think there's 8 or 9 actions, and most of them are fairly simple. You gain this, but there's a couple of actions that are quite well, okay, here's how trams work. So I felt like it needed a bit of prep, so I'd done my prep and made my notes and all that kind of stuff and set up. And I had a few locals around the table, to be fair. So I had Becky and Andy, who've met before. They've been on the Gaming Rules channel a couple of times,
cool.
and they're local to Cranbrook and stuff like that. So I met them before. And then 2 people I hadn't met before, which was Ugo and Dan. And yeah, the teach was about half hour long, and I thought I'll probably lose some people on this because there is quite a few actions, but everyone seemed to pick up really quickly. And there was just such a nice group of players to teach and to game, and they just had there was a bit of laughing going on around the table, and just a really nice experience. And it was really nice for me to get to sort of show them it and help them through. As I say, because there are a few. It's not the heaviest game, but there are a few actions and a few sort of weird sort of moments in it where you just have to people would need reminding and need to check a rule book, and it's great for them not to have to do that. I felt great to be able to supply that experience, if you like.
Yeah.
And they probably had the quickest game of Barcelona you'll ever have. So what you're doing is you're putting down these 2 worker chips, one on top of the other, that represent different classes. So you've got working class, middle class, and upper class. Can't think there is a specific term for it.
Top wankers.
Yeah, that's not the specific term for it.
Thought I read that in the rule book. Yeah.
And you're putting them on top of each other on this orthogonal grid, and you get the action of the column and the action of the row. And then as these workers build up, you'll then be able to take them off in order to buy a building, and the building increases you on certain tracks, but also scores you points equal to the lowest number you can see. And what you do is you take these workers off, you sort of spend these workers, they go on this track, and this track has numbers on different levels, and the lowest number you can see is the number that building scores, and you can overbuild each other. And again, there's loads of different actions, and there's loads of little extra ways of scoring. But the game ends when you get a track all of one type of worker right to the end, and there's sort of 3 phases, and each one has a scoring. But when you get right to the end of one track, it triggers the end game. And I've played this game a few times now, and the green track, so the working class, was at the end, and the middle and upper class tracks were less than halfway filled. So they must have literally pulled all of the working class out of the bag before half of the other ones had even come out. And so I think the game itself only lasted an hour and 15 minutes because they just filled up this track so quickly. Yeah, they didn't really get I felt really bad because obviously they'd signed up for a sponsored game, and they got to see the game, but I'd have been expecting a little bit longer possibly if I'd signed up for it. And I was like, look, that's the game. You've seen the game.
It can happen.
It's going to happen sometimes, but yeah, a few of them were like, I've only just got started. They'd only put 1 passenger down for the tram, or they'd only got a couple of the public buildings and stuff like that. And they were like, I was hoping to do more. Yeah, normally you would. Just because of the way it's worked out, it's kind of rushed the end of the game.
We did play that game before.
Yes, to help me with the teach, to get the teach down.
And we got quite a full-bodied game of it. I think ours was about two.
Most of the tracks were
nearly full.
And it was over 2 hours. Yeah. And as I say, for them to have an hour and 15 minutes actual game time was almost half the time because of the way the track was. And
Which would have been okay if they were playing the game themselves because they just went, let's play a game.
Yeah.
But because it was a teach, I'm guessing they didn't, you couldn't.
Not time, was it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you don't have time.
Yeah.
'cause
You can
people are
move
queued
on
up.
and do whatever else you need to do with the thing. But yeah, no, it was. They seemed to have a good game out of it, but it was a really quick game of Barcelona. So no, just to say thank you for them for making it such a nice game and sort of it felt.
How easy was it to teach?
It wasn't the easiest because it's upper end of midweight, I would say. But because there are so many little actions and you have to kind of explain them and describe them, there's a few times where they put something down and I was like, right, okay, so you're going to trigger that, but you don't have enough money for this. Is that what you wanted to do, sort of thing? And they're like, oh yeah, no, I'll go here instead, sort of thing. Or
it does kind of need that guidance because there's also some things where you're like, oh, I can't do it. And you're like, oh, no, wait, I can do it because if I move the tram here and I get this action, which gives me the money, because you can do it in any order as well, can't you? With your actions,
pretty much,
the way you layer
This is why when you're doing these demos, you've got to know, because like, again, the perseverance is like, right, I need to do this. How do I do it?
Yeah.
It's like, you need to go there and you do that and you go there. Oh, okay, got it, thank you. But if you don't know, they're just going to flounder. And
and I think it is a good game. I think there's some really strong stuff in it. It's got a lot of stuff that Euro sort of gamers or regular Euro gamers would be used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just bitty, and because you're doing things in certain orders, it can be really easy to miss the fact that you're not going to have enough to do this, or there's a diagonal action as well that costs you money to go on it, so you get the column, the row, and the diagonal. And like that costs one money. So a lot of people are thinking, oh, I've got enough money. Right, that's cost you one. Oh, now I haven't got... Right, okay, would you want to take that back and do something else, sort of thing? And just pointing out those... Not trying to play the game for them, but you can see where they're going, and you're like, so if you do this, you might not have... Or, oh, I'm going to do this and this. Well, okay, have you seen you're not going to have enough money?
Yeah.
And I just... Yeah, it was... I really enjoyed doing that.
I know a lot of people really like this game, and I can understand why. It's got nice depth, a lot of layered mechanics. Personally, I wasn't a fan, but you can see where the meat is, really, can't you?
Absolutely.
You just didn't like the randomness of
the drawing, which is also seems to have created a quicker game for people as well. But it's one of those. I haven't played it enough to give it a full opinion.
Yeah, I've played it a few times now, and obviously watched it play as other people played it. And I think there's something there. Not my favourite game, but definitely a good one that it was nice to see.
Yeah. How about you, JP?
Yeah. So on the Thursday, we actually I got invited to a game of Voidfall, which was ran by Tim and his brother Nick, and we also had Mark from Malta. So I managed to get a game with those chaps. So it was a nice way for me to start GRIDCON, because it was kind of like the Thursday night before, and it's a game I know, and
got fed grapes up in the special room.
Absolutely, we was in the Ruriston suite.
Fanned by hotel staff, silk drapes everywhere.
So we played the game. I was House Zenor, and they basically the ones that give you credits for overproducing science.
Yes.
Never played them before.
Marcus played those the last time we played.
Interesting strategy. So basically going heavy on putting science skills out and just spamming that for credits, and then using credits for
So are they also the faction that gives you allows you to have more guilds within your home sector as well as one of their techs?
No.
Are they not?
Don't think so. Unless I played it wrong.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It might be one of those techs, but...
Well, it's cloning or it's destroyers with them.
I was a cloning or destroyers.
I went cloning.
Cloning, yeah.
Because I'd not had that tech before, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Let's give that one a whirl.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go into it. We've talked about Voidfall too much.
I could talk about Voidfall all night.
Yeah, we'll turn it into the Voidfall podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everyone likes Voidfall or listening to it, do they, Adrian? So
I haven't played it. I just don't think it'll interest me.
A game you hate?
Oh, I don't hate it.
He hasn't got an opinion on it.
It doesn't look like it'll be a game I'll be interested in. And at some point I will play it because I think I should. But
it could surprise you.
I'm
maybe,
more than up.
Maybe co-op.
There have been some games where I thought I'm not interested in that, and then they've really surprised me, and I've absolutely loved them. So it could be one of those. But
Faraway was mine. I had such a low expectation that it's excelled.
Yeah. It happens. But everyone's on a real hype right now, and I don't want to hate it and bring the table down. When people are a bit more in with it, I'll give it a go.
So just a quick mention, and thanks to Tim for organising it, because it was great. And Nick won that game. That was close. It was close.
What was
second.
the end score?
Yeah, he got 316.
Nice.
I got 286.
Nice.
So-
I still don't know a gauge of like a good score in
No,
a
I've
game.
no
It's
idea.
here, there, everywhere at the moment,
some
isn't it?
some games, depending on techs and factions and scenarios, you can get into the
But it's a
400s.
nice
So it's
amount of variability.
Just it was good fun. So nice way to start the con for me.
Yeah, sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to move on to our highlight. What game gave you that nice little buzz of excitement, you know? The opposite of how you felt with Barrage, JP, in that middle bit. What really kind of... Yeah, exactly. What gave you that momentum to keep on gaming?
For me,
Yeah.
Speakeasy.
Speakeasy.
So
there's been a lot of buzz about this.
there's been a lot of buzz. So Vital Lacerda was up in the room being fed grapes.
Yes.
Or was he feeding them to me? I can't remember. I'm just going off your analogy here.
Yeah,
I don't know where it's going. But no, he basically running a bunch of kind of demos of his new latest big box game. It's in prototype form, not out yet, not even in remotely close to being kind of kickstarted or on GameFound, etc. And got a chance to jump on and give it a whirl. So Speakeasy, thematically, is based in 1920s Prohibition era, set in Manhattan.
Good theme, I like it.
So theme-wise, you're mobsters, you're mob bosses, and it's a worker placement game. And you have capos, which are your 4 heads of the family, and you've got family members, and you can hire goons and. So you're right in there, and your player board, I can just see Eagle Griffin's production on this, because it's not there yet. It's going to be awesome, because you are sat where the mob boss is sat at your desk.
Has he got a little desk board?
He's got a little desk,
awesome.
and then the capos have their seats in front of you. There's little spots where they sit. Your family members are on the sofas behind and to the side.
That's brilliant.
This is awesome.
That's awesome.
And then you have cards that you will play, and they're going to slot in Lacrimosa style, but they'll have cutouts. So, for example, one will be is all around travelling. It's like a green card, and that is the window, so you can kind of see outside your office. So that will be cut out. So when the card goes in, the art will show that there's something happening outside. So it very, very thematic in what is happening. And as soon as Vital was explaining that, I was like, oh, God damn, this is cool. And we haven't played it yet. And it's just sitting there going, this is awesome.
As long as you can sleeve it when you slot it.
I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't know. But, hot off the press, I don't know.
EGG, you've got to do it.
Just, badger EGG
Make 'em
into doing it.
sleepable.
So that's kind of the playable situation. But what kind of game is it? It's kind of an area control game. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this, because I'm not a big dude on the map kind of fan. But it's not that. So I was pleasantly surprised. So that was good. So you kind of have Manhattan. It's split into upper town, mid town, lower town. Upper town is where the money's at. Lower town's where there's less money's at.
Get to play as Al Capone.
Yeah, pretend.
No Nucky from Boardwalk Empire.
Oh yeah, you get that vibe though.
Yeah,
you do get that vibe. You've got a docks area where there's boats all around Manhattan, and on the docks they've got a bunch of barrels supplying moonshine, booze, etc. So you're kind of building your stills and speakeasies around the districts, which are going to count for area majority in the various different districts. But certain districts are under threat from outside mobsters that are coming in. So the thematics is that you, Lucky Luciani, I think, is the one that kind of brokered some peace between the different mobs in Manhattan, because there's a lot of mob wars that were happening, and basically it's just causing destruction and no one's making any money if everyone's at war with each other. So we kind of brokered this kind of peace that if we all kind of work together, sort of, would make more money and more profit. So that's kind of thematically saying you can't kill each other.
Yeah.
Which is quite nice, because that's what I was expecting from when I started it. But you do have the looming threat from other mobs outside of the city that will come and try and take over your businesses and your speakeasies, which you need to prepare for. So you kind of have these 5 tracks on your player board. The main one is your power, so it's your strength of your mob.
Yeah.
And you can boost that with goons that you can hire in and spend. And they're cool because they're little chunky meeples with shotguns. So they look cool, as you can expect from EGG. And then you've got the other 4 tracks, which are more about your kind of operations of the business. So you've got your transport of how far your trucks can go. The trucks are cool. Trucks are like little trucks. You put barrels in them. It's very cool. You got one that's how many kind of booze your distillery can produce. So obviously you pump that up, you can produce more, sell more. You got one that's how many family members you can house in your office. So the more that goes up, the more family members you can have, and you send them out to defend and protect your businesses, because there's cops around. Obviously what you're doing is illegal at the time. Obviously speakeasies are underground.
Them off.
Yeah, so they're there, but if you've got the family members outside, then you are bribing them essentially, so you can basically make money. And then the other track is it's like the jazz and party track. So it's how many it's basically track. How much booze you can sell at your speakeasies. And then the amount,
what kind of a swinging time is everyone having where they're going to drink a lot of booze?
A very pistol time, although in my speakeasy
not
not much, because it was dry as anything. So yeah, that's kind of the thematics of the game. And the tracks also count for your infamy. So the higher up those tracks, the total number is your total infamy. The more you go up, the more benefits you're going to unlock for yourself, more family members come. But the biggest thing I loved about this game, and it's so thematic, is that you've got two money systems in the game. So you've got your cash in hand, similar to Escape Plan in a way, but you've got your cash in hand and you've got your safe. Some money that you earn will go in your hand, and certain things that you do, like cooking books and other stuff, will go directly to the safe. Now, you can access the money from your safe at any time, but in order to spend it, you need to wash it, which means you're kind of doubling the cost of anything that you're
paying
using
someone to make it clean money.
Yeah, which is very thematic. But also, the money in your safe is your VPs at the end of the game. So you've got a real tough decision of, am I trying to grow this like your savings account?
Can you speculate to accumulate, or is it just going to be speculating?
Or
and
just
losing?
hemorrhaging funds. And,
But I take it you can put your money in at the end into the. You just to take it out, it costs money. Yeah. Or
putting it in is fine.
Yeah.
It's just using it.
Yeah,
and spending it is going to cost. So when you're selling booze, it's going into the safe, and when you do an area majority and you're winning, that goes into the safe. So there's a lot of ways that it goes in.
Very little cash in hand.
Yes.
A lot in the safe.
Exactly.
How much do you take out? Sounds like a great puzzle.
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. You can raid the docks, so you can actually go and steal some booze from the docks, or you can buy it directly if you don't want to make it yourself. So there's alternate strategies there. Just bloody cool.
Yeah.
You can also have a conference with people, with the mobsters that are coming in. You can actually befriend them and then pay them to help protect your businesses.
Nice.
So adding to your overall power and strength. So yeah, but the core mechanic is worker placement. So you're kind of taking your capo, you're putting it on the space and doing a thing. There is a bumping mechanic similar to the gallerist, where you can oust one of the workers to another worker placement spot called the park, and then they choose what benefit they get. So you can do that 3 times before that's filled, and then that's it, that's locked up. So that's cool. So it's split into 4 rounds. At the end of each round, there's the mob war that kind of happens. You already know, it's open information, what districts they're targeting, so you can prepare for that. This is where I fell over in the game.
I was going to say, the buzz online is that you were terrible at defending your stills.
Yeah. The only person I'm going to blame is myself.
Yeah.
And my stills got raided, and then I lost them. And then when you lose businesses, they're gone forever, and you only get 1 still. So I was like,
you just have a problem with keeping liquid in, don't you?
I just have a problem with games.
Make you sound incontinent.
Yeah.
I just meant in Barrage and Speakeasy.
How do you piss yourself at the weekend, didn't you? But yeah, it was a great. I could see a great design in here in this game.
Yeah,
and
a really strong theme.
And thematically, in the second year or second era, you lose one of your capos because they've been murdered.
Nice.
And you're a mob.
Yeah.
So
you can't see his hand action while he did that, but that's the most gangster thing I've ever seen
Brap.
JP do. He literally just did like a gun action when he said, you'll lose your capos. Yeah.
And then you get to the point in your last era, you'll only end up with 1. So thematically, you're losing workers as the game goes on, but hopefully you'll have a better engine. It's going to kick into gear. And but yeah, it's pretty cool. I've only explained a fifth of the game, I'm sure.
It's a Vital Lacerda game. You'd be here for another 45 minutes if you explained all of it.
One to watch, definitely. If you like that theme, There's an awesome puzzle in that.
Makes me want it.
Yeah, a bit like Escape Plan. It sounds like it is his DNA, but not his standard.
Yeah,
like what's considered his more standard Euro style games.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But the highlight was just being able to chat to him.
Yeah,
you know, and just ask him questions and just fanboy for like 10 minutes and just it was just great hanging out, playing his game, asking him what his favourite game of his design, which he gave me a political answer and a real answer. So
on stream the political answer is all of them. Off stream,
on stream the political answer is his latest one. But off stream that's off the record, and if you ask him, he'll probably say, "No, I didn't." But there we go.
So in a future episode, I will talk about Trolls and Princesses. I got to play it again. This episode is kind of coming first because we'd like to push these out as soon as we've done the expo. And my previous gripe with it has kind of been rectified. We only played it 2-player before. We got a 3-player game in, and it is a lot better with 3-player. 2-player, we kind of both kept to our own little areas and kind of played a solo game.
Mm-hmm.
When we got a 3-player game of it, it was a lot more contested on the board. It clicked straight away when we played it this time. Got a lot more combos out, got a lot more different buildings out. It was really fun. I do think there's going to be probably a limited amount of plays with it, but what games aren't? You know, there's usually rare games that you have which have that variability, or I still think you'll get your money's worth. And it's a beautiful looking game. Everyone kept coming over and
just
going,
looks stunning.
"Ooh, look at this!" Yeah, and it's really nice. It's kind of got a slightly unique worker placement. I'm sure it's been done before, but I can't list the game at the moment. But you have groups of workers, but other people's workers count towards your action points when you're playing it out. But you've also got a worker placement within your own area that no one else can affect, but then you've got the one in the middle where the main resources all sit, and the main resources all ebb and flow depending on what cards you play, and so there's this little kind of I really want to play this card because it's giving me an extra action point in this area, but it means that resource is going to go over there. At the moment Marcus has got
more
4 trolls over there, and if I do put that resource over there, he's going to get a princess, he's going to get more VPs. So we played it with Stuart as well. Stuart joined us.
Hi Stuart.
I think he enjoyed it. I think it was at the start, there was a lot going on. Me and Marcus have both played it before. We clicked on, but then it started to click with Stuart towards the end, I think. That's when he started to enjoy it more, and he kind of had a plan what he was doing then, but probably second playthrough you'd enjoy it a lot more. So that was one of my favourites, just because we actually got our teeth into it this time. And as I said, I will play it again, definitely. But I don't know how many more times that will be. But it's one of those, you can enjoy it.
As long as you've enjoyed it, then.
Well, that's the main thing, isn't it, with these games?
Mad, is it? Yeah.
Again, it's price value for the entertainment, £1 per entertainment value for me. The efficiency.
Sure.
You haven't even bought it, it's not even your game, so it's
exactly. I didn't pay nothing for it. It's beautiful.
It's a bloody win-win.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
So that was mine. And how about you, Tambo? What was your favourite?
My highlight of the game of the day was my last game I played, which was Beast. Actually, funny enough.
Yeah.
I played it a few times, so I've already played it. But Marcus joined us, who was itching to play it. So
yeah, I've been.
I finally got a team.
I'm itching.
I really want to.
I got it to the table. I finally as Marcus, but I did a big boo boo. I did what you did with the Perseverance set alongside the board. I just thought we'd play the quicker game, but it's actually designed to be for 2 to 3 players.
Yeah. And
I said that side, and it's actually we were 4. So we had 3 hunters, me, Martin, and Rob, and it was obviously Marcus as the beast. But we kept it.
He is known as that.
Yeah, so we kept it. I made a house rule that.
Nickname.
I made a house rule.
That illustrious mane that he's got rocking at the moment.
He's the X-Man.
Yeah, believe me, it made the because Marcus was in his element. To be fair, but he was playing the wolf, and I said a house rule because normally all the hunters get to go before the beast. But as I mucked up, I said right. Well, I won't go first. You have 2 hunters go before the beast, then he can have a go. So it's like that. But as it's such a small board, it started off, he went off, and we caught him really quickly, basically. And we hit him for 2 damage very quickly. I thought, this is going to be over really quickly, very quickly. But fair play to him, he actually just ran off and then hid for ages. And he was using his little wolves. And he was loving it because he was making all the wolf sounds, going, no, do all this? And I think it was the people looking at us going, what's going on over there? There's typical Marcus. But
Standard Marcus.
Yeah, but he was just like, I didn't. And I've never seen a lot of the, because you put down the hidden south, east, west or north card down, and we were running out of cards because it was so long because he just didn't reveal himself. Because if you eat something like a sheep, or you attack anything as the wolf, you have to reveal where you are. But he was using all his little wolf packs to kill the sheep and stuff. You don't get the reward for it, but it still counts for the contract reward. So he kept doing that, and we just couldn't find him, and he ran us around circles, and he did really well. And then Rob decided asked me how the traps work, and I explained how traps work, and we put a trap down. And it's been such long since we put a trap down, I forgot it was even there. And at the end, it came down to the last 2 cards he had in his hand, and he has to eat settlers. The whole deal of the contract was to eat 2 settlers. Mm-hmm. And he was on his last one, and he thought we knew he was on this area, thought I'm just going to go for it. He had 2 attack cards, so he knew he was going to get 2 damage to the settler and eat him. And he got into settler, and he revealed himself. And then we just Rob said, hang on, we got a trap there. And we revealed the trap, and the trap card was discard 2 cards from the hand. And it was literally, if he'd done that, he would have won it, and if we did it and we won it, so me and Rob were high-fiving. It was just such a great end. And it was only on the second night. It's done in 3 nights, but it was the second night because it was, like I say, I set up the wrong side of the board, so it was quite close. But I actually made a really good game, funny enough. I thought I did.
Rob was raving about this.
So was Marcus. Marcus talked about it a lot when he got back.
Said it was really good.
I think Martin enjoyed it as well. He's very quiet. Martin's quite a quiet character, but he was there, and he was doing great. He was one side of the board and just keeping that side. And then he came in and did a cracking movie, came straight to settlement, and then
good fun.
It was really good.
Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about it. So,
but I think that made a highlight just the whole funness of that game, and it just shows you when you get someone new to them, they're loving it. It just makes the day, doesn't it? And it's like
Marcus will always.
He's like that. He's a massive character, big
hype up
character.
that kind of role where he can do all that kind of stuff anyway. So he'll make that definitely.
Yeah, so that was good. That was my highlight of the game, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
So, Adrian, what was your favourite game?
My favourite game of the weekend was the other one that I queued 45 minutes for at Essen, which was Satori. So Satori's not available out here as far as I'm aware. It's available at Essen on pre-order, and I think the publisher, which is Spanish publisher, Peroloco, I think they're only doing current shipments to like Spain and stuff like that at the moment. So unfortunately, I don't think it's really easy to get hold of. But it was a game I watched a little bit before Essen, and then when I got there and saw people playing it and they talked it through, I thought that sounds like my kind of game. I like the look of it. It's very sort of simple, like watercolor sort of game, and sort of lots of white areas of the board. It's not like lots of colours popping off the board, but it just looked like mechanically my kind of game. So I thought I'd give it a go. I queued up for a little while and bought it. And I got to play with Mark and Sally from Cranbrook, who I've played with before, and Lee, who apparently is also local, but I don't think I've played with Lee before. Okay. And did a bit of a teach. Wasn't the best teach, but they all got it, so it was good enough, obviously. And what you're doing in this is it's about Japanese Buddhist enlightenment. So you have altars that worshippers will go to, and the altars have a colour and 2 actions. There's a worker placement pool, so you don't have your own workers. There's a pool of workers that are randomly drawn from the bag, and you draft, on your turn, you draft the worker, and there's 3 different colours. So your worker will then go to an altar, and if the altar doesn't match, you only get 1 of the 2 actions. If the altar matches, you get both of them. Mm-hmm. So, you're never stuck completely, but there's definitely inefficiencies trying to draft the right ones. And after that, there's then just a lot of, some of them are just grab resources and stuff like that. But you get the chance to build new altars that become yours, and you can upgrade them. And when someone goes there, a bit like Lords of Waterdeep, when someone goes there, you gain a bonus. So when someone puts a worker there, you'll go up on this track, and then there's an action where you can then claim one of the bonuses. So you choose, depending on how far up the track you are, you'll get a choice of better bonuses, and you choose one of them and go back to the bottom. And there's 3 ways of really getting good victory points. One of which is you get to put out, one of the actions is you get to put out your little monk, and then you can move the Hikari, which is an enlightenment sun thematically, and then you claim that. And that often either converts resources or allows you to give resources in to gain victory points. You also, at the very end of the game, you multiply the number of upgraded altars by the number of altars. So ideally, you want to put out as many altars as you can and then upgrade as many of them. The other kind of track, which is a multiplication, is there's like a pagoda you can build, which is one of the actions, and you can use one of your enlightenment tokens to put a roof on it, or you can turn over like the main body, like the bit below the roof, the room.
Yeah.
You can turn that over, and then you can put these Jokoro, which are like these upgrade tokens, on there as well. And the other part of the scoring is the number of Jokoros, so the number of upgrades you've got times the number of roofs the pagoda's got.
Mm-hmm.
And everything else is just little actions that get you to either one of these things or get multiple different scorings. So at the end, I lost by a tie, and I'd gone purely into building. I didn't buy a single altar, didn't make a single altar, didn't upgrade any, nothing. And obviously the downside is I don't get to pick the actions that are good actions, and you can cover up some of the base actions as well. So Mark, he covered up the pagoda building one, and I was like, this is really tough now, because the only way to build a pagoda is basically use an executive action where you get to spend incense to do one of these bonus actions. So that was the only way, so I was having to get incense every time to do the action that I wanted. And I just went purely after the pagoda buildings, whereas like Mark did a mixture of both, and he won on the tie. He did a mixture of altar building and the pagoda building, but he mostly did more of the altar stuff. And it was really an interesting mix of trying to get it right. And there's a lot of talk about Bitoku and similarities with Bitoku, because the theme is about enlightenment and Buddhist enlightenment and all that kind of stuff. And there's apparently some similarity in the gameplay. There's a few comparisons to Lords of Waterdeep, because worker placement, you get to own buildings.
Me the Great Wall vibes from what you've said about micro actions, but
no, personally I wouldn't think so. Maybe that's just the way I've explained it, but I wouldn't personally think there's much of the Great Wall sort of going on in there. There are some quite rough symbology bits in there where I think the symbology is not. Most of it's really clear, but you get like a little secret objective that's not a massive change to the game, but is. And at the top they've put a number, but it looks like, because of where they've put the number, you've got to have the most of something. But actually what it looks like is have more than 4 of something or more than 3 of something, but actually that's just objective number 3 or objective number 4.
The ID number of the card.
Yeah. And there's little things like that throughout the game where most of it they've absolutely nailed the graphic design, and I'm a stickler for sort of the way that board games iconography is used. Most of it they've absolutely nailed down, and then occasionally there's just a real sort of, I would say, biggish blunder where if you're teaching it to a new person, they will absolutely think you need more than 3 emeralds in order to score this, but actually it's you've got to have the most. And there's little bits. Otherwise, the gameplay is a fantastic sort of upper midweight, I would say, and just doing lots of that work, lovely worker placement, lots of this gives you this action extra, or you get to do this additionally, and again it's got that kind of executive
It sounds
action.
nothing like Bitoku to me, but
there's a couple of it's not massively, but I've not played Bitoku, so I can't say, but there's the other 3 on the table kept mentioning Bitoku of some of the symbology
theme,
issues,
I guess.
but also the theme and a couple of different bits. They're like, this is where things don't refill naturally, and apparently that's quite similar to Bitoku, where things don't a lot of games, it's like, and immediately replace it.
Yeah.
No, it's done, it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's some actions that allow you to use the things that are still there, even if you're not building.
There is the Enlightenment adventure track on Bitoku, which maybe is a bit like that.
So I've not played Bitoku, I can't speak to it, but there's a few mentions of it, both good and bad, reminiscing of Bitoku. And so Lords of Waterdeep you get through because of the buildings and getting bonuses for people using them.
It's the bit I like about Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah, it's the bit I like as well. So I was really happy with picking it up, and great to get it to the table and have a good group to play it with, and really enjoyed it. So
you'll be putting it up in the group soon, won't you?
Yeah, when someone's happy to host, yeah.
So going off of board games and kind of going more into the convention side of things, and the people that we've met. I got to meet Matt Lawrence. Said hello. We had a nice chat about they were playing Weather Machine. So hiya, Matt. So I had a good chat with Adam from Punchboard, who we played the Old King's Crown with on live stream at Paul. So we had a good chat with Adam about loads of other games, about Food Chain Magnate and Barrage, because it seems like he likes mean games as well. Yeah. So had a good chat about that, and it's just nice to see some kind of friendly faces, and so that was really nice. And you got any shout outs?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I met Matt, which is always nice to have a chat with him. He's obviously one of our kind of keen listeners, and again, it's always a bit surreal when you meet your listeners to a podcast, and we're just dudes that play games that happen to record something. So that's really lovely to get the comments that we do. But
can I just jump in there as well? Because obviously we had Matt and Paul Richards.
Yeah.
Behind, and Paul always comes saying
Oh,
like
and I
Matt
met
does as well.
Paul as well.
Yeah.
Lovely
So-
chap.
So
Yeah.
last year we played Lacrimosa,
We did.
and then afterwards they sat at a different table behind us and asked questions about Lacrimosa. So this time I played Kutna Hora,
Yeah.
and then moved across and they sat up Kutna Hora and asked me questions about that. So I was like, well, whatever I play next as a hot games library, I'll just sit next to you next time you go to play it.
Yeah.
Because it seems like every con I end up being the rules query for the game I've just played.
Because I did offer to Paul as well. I was going to offer to teach Nucleum because I was like, oh, but me only being there for a day and an evening, I was like, oh, if it had different circumstances, I would do. But
I played Speakeasy with Paul. So and Paul's actually someone I met at GRIDCON 2.
Yeah,
nice.
And when I went on my own, so that's how I met Paul, and not Paul Grogan, obviously,
Yeah,
but the other Paul.
the other Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice guys.
Nice
the other
guys.
Nice group of. They always seem to be having fun, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always good to see them and catch up with them. But we had Brian and his fiancée Ali, and on the Friday night, I think they were about to wrap up and go, and they just came to say, "Oh, good night." And Brian runs Always Play Blue Instagram. That's his handle, so check it out. And he's going to say bye. We just set up Strong Point, which is a very simple quiz bidding game.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah, and we just, we're kind of gamed out a bit at that point. We're just happy to play something light. Tambo was dreading it because it was like a quiz game.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, just bet 0 on me, I'll get them all wrong. He didn't. And
You played a long game.
No,
I like it, Tambo. I like it.
But Brian-
I'm not going to get any of them.
This last round for money, is it?
I got
Is it?
0 on reality TV shows, which I'm well happy about.
that's a good thing, Tambo.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. But no, Brian, we just said, oh, look, do you guys want to play? We just offered it out because it's it's an easy game. Sit down. I think Ali was ready to hit the kind of hotel.
Cool.
And you could tell Brian was like, I want to play, and he was just kind of looking, going, can I play? And he ended up sitting down and having a game with us, and that was just lovely.
Nice.
And we got to hang out and play a bit of Strong Point. Which was
nice.
good fun.
I remember playing that game. It was good
Played
fun.
at Expo, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. So we just went and did about 3 rounds of that, and
It's kindly gifted to us, actually.
it was.
Yeah.
By the makers and publishers of it. So thank you very much.
Check it out.
Couple of games we played of that now.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But yeah, that's. I'm sure there's others that I've said hello, and I cannot remember for the life of me right now.
There was plenty of people that were like, "Oh, we listen,"
Yeah.
or just wanted to chat, or that I'd sort of seen last year.
Yes.
and that just sort of stopped me and said, "How's your convention going this year?" Sort of thing that I hadn't got
likewise,
to play with, and it's such a nice atmosphere, as we sort of said at the start of the show. But it's just so lovely to get to speak to people or meet people that you've met before, or even just, as you say, online. Or I played It's a Balloon at the very end, which is a very silly sort of, when someone tells you how to draw something but you can't see what they're drawing, it's that in a game.
Okay.
And like just getting to meet and say hello to Graham, who before we set this up, was someone that you saw quite regularly talking in the Facebook groups and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting to have a catch up with them quickly, nothing more than just how's it going and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, absolutely love getting the chance to
we met Graham as well. Played Nucleum with him.
just to say hello and get to catch up with people, and absolutely great time.
Good community.
Yeah.
That's what is fostered there, is that community of people. And the more you go, the more you get to know people. And actually,
They're a good bunch.
You probably just think, I could even go on my own. Even like if none of your gaming group went, you could happily go on your own and you'd have an amazing time.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people like, come and play!
Yeah.
And so many opportunities to even organise games before you go.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
There we go. Lovely. So I think we're going to wrap up there, really. We could probably talk about GRIDCON for a lot longer, but we're cracking on now anyway, and we've got beds to get to.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're all tired. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm knackered.
I'm always grateful to
tired.
take the day off afterwards.
Yeah, I did.
Did you have today off as well? Did
every
you?
time I book it off as a holiday, I think, it's just another day's holiday that I could use elsewhere. And then every Monday after any convention, I'm like, yes, I did make the right choice.
Yeah, you feel wiped, don't you? But in a good way.
Yeah.
So if you want to contact us, you can find all the details within the show notes. I just want to say thank you again to any of our supporters on Coffee, and if you want to go on there, so that's spelled Ko fi. It's a massive help to us to keep producing content, and at the moment we've got a goal of increasing our audio quality so you can have some silky smooth voices in your ears.
This is just because you want to produce some more silky smooth noises, isn't it?
So if you can do that, it'd be great, but if not, that's fine as well. We're just happy to be doing this about something we love. So as always, whose turn is it?
Paul Brogan's.
Thanks Paul, Vicky, and everyone.
Yeah.